That's my baby. I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah! What the fuck are you talking about?
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Welcome in, everybody. This is Monday Morning Quarterback. Air quote that every time. Only on A2D Radio. Every show we are brought to you by our doc, make him yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Tom Arnone, Ryan Brotto, Zach Burr, Jake Friel, everybody out there joining us. What is happening? There is so much to talk about. The disgrace is real when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll talk about the presser that went on today. It's tough to watch. It's cringeworthy. It really is cringeworthy. We'll talk about that later on the show. The future of Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz. All right. I mean, obviously, a hot topic, which the Ertz, I think we all sort of felt was coming, but now that it's like feels like it's really here, has sort of made us get upset and emotional in the moment. But like, I wasn't believing Carson was really getting traded. I wasn't really believing this organization was going to take a $36 million cap hit. I really didn't believe any of that shit was really going to happen, or 34, 32, whatever the hell it was. I still don't want to believe this organization is going to make that big of a mistake. But we'll talk about the future of both of them. And we got to obviously talk about the Eagles tank in Week 17. And it ties into our poll question brought to you by Ambuck Services. 20% off. Telling the boys from A2D sent you. Gutter guards, gutter installations. Ambuck Services has you covered. You're outraged that the Philadelphia Eagles tanked last night's game. Agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Like, subscribe, follow, download. Let us know. Join the conversation. And let's talk about it. Because honestly, if you're outraged, I mean, grow up. Grow up, really. I mean, that's the best words for it. Because why are you outraged that Pittsburgh didn't play Ben? Be outraged there. I mean, be outraged around the league. We're not going to get it. We're going to get outraged because it's a primetime goddamn game. The game's played at 1 o'clock. Nobody gives a rat's ass what happens. Nobody cares. But being the game's played at 8 o'clock and everybody's watching and Giants become Eagles fans, right now everybody's got to care. And it's a joke. And you have players dictate that. Giants players. They're the ones who said, the integrity of the game. This is what teams do around the National Football League and all pro sports when they're done. When they're done. You looked at the injury report this week. That answered all your questions if we thought we were going to win or not. And as a fan base, we all wanted to lose. So everybody relax, glass houses. All right? Stop throwing freaking rocks if you live in a glass house, because this is all this fan base does. And you're letting Giant fans get up in you and get in your feels? Like, listen, there's two things to be true when I'm an Eagles fan. Hate the Cowboys, hate the Giants, don't care. And everybody can tell me, Tom, well, as a player, like Seth Joyner, whatever, I'm appalled to be part of this organization, or disgusted to be a part of this organization. Grow up, you too, okay? You're appalled by what? It's been disgusting all year. It's been a train wreck all year. Now everybody's embarrassed. Now you're embarrassed to be part of it, be associated with the organization. Now you're embarrassed. It took a tanking, air quote, in Week 17 to get you really upset. Come on, man. Like, as fans, you don't think about it as players. Players are trying to win, of course. But fans, we all wanted to lose. We all wanted the 6th pick of the draft compared to the 9th. Now, players play to win. For sure, they play for tape. But you think players are really that broken up about losing last night? No, not if they did well on tape and they played well. That's what Week 17 comes down to. For teams that are out of it, it becomes a show me for next year. or tape for another team. That's what it becomes. The frig out of here. It's a joke. Everybody plays for draft positioning, and especially an organization that's been flat out terrible with it, okay, and an organization that needs stars immediately. ASAP. That influx has to happen immediately. The difference from 6 to 9, if you're good at it, shouldn't be a big difference. When you're the Eagles, it's gigantic. And for anybody that thinks that Jeffrey Lurie wasn't a part of this, you're crazy. Doug Peterson trying to throw a bone to Nate Sudfeld. Doug's a former backup, trying to show him some love, whatever. Okay? It doesn't matter. Like, we're upset that we blew a game. Okay? The Giants did this. The Giants went and won a meaningless football game last year, and they could have Chase Young. So you tell me you tell me, okay? Because you guys lost out, Giants fans, and you guys, legitimacy of the game, be legit. Guess what? If you had Chase Young, you're probably in the playoffs. Okay? You're probably in the playoffs. So maybe you might want to rethink that. And for all my Sixers faithful, like I said earlier, don't watch tonight. You ain't allowed. Don't even, no peekaboo either. No peekaboo. I mean, it's just timeout chair talk. All right? Freaking glass houses, too. We tanked purposely for 25 years, I feel like. Wasn't that long, but you know what I mean? Besides AI, I feel like we've been nonstop tanking. So I don't want to hear anybody anymore. Like, this is pro sports. And my buddy John said to me earlier, like, well, Tom, you want to give your kids marching orders to lose? No, I coach youth sports. Of course not. Grow up. This is professional sports. I'm not talking about the high school level. I'm not talking about the college level. We're talking about professional sports. Sometimes the tank comes in from somebody. It's out of your control as a coach. And I think personally, they were still trying to win. They just stink. So now all of a sudden, we've stunk all year. Hence why we have 4 wins. And people are like, oh, they're blowing games. What are you talking about? We've blown games all year. Is everybody okay? Has everybody watched the Philadelphia Eagles this year? This is a disgrace. The fact that it's such a big deal to people was so 2020 and now leads into 2021. So 2021 that people are outraged over an Eagles loss in Week 17 in a meaningless game for them. And that's the bottom line in pro sports. That's the bottom line. Okay? So if you're a Giants fan and you're upset, well, guess what? Tell Evan Ingram to catch a football. Tell guys to make plays in big spots. And maybe you're not in this position. But I'm not here to be upset for you. Okay? If I'm a real fan, I say my team should have did a better job. You had 6 wins. The integrity of the game has been lost with a team with 7 wins getting in. So you can take your integrity and you can shove it up your ass for all you integrity people. Okay? 7 wins gets in the playoffs. And we're worried about it. We're talking about a team blowing a game? The frig out of here. The joke. I can't believe it's even a conversation. If it's 1 p.m., 4 p.m., everybody's like, oh, Eagles lost. See, Sudfeld played. You know what I mean? No, it's like it becomes like a joke. Not like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. And by the way, your freaking golden boy, your golden boy was 7 for 20. 7 for 20 in an NFL football game. 7 for 20. All right? And I don't care if he rushed for 42 touchdowns. Oh, it's okay. We promised Nate something. So for everybody that took a picture of him saying, like, this isn't right. Him saying this isn't right on the sidelines. No, what's not right is 7 for 20. Okay? What's not right is 7 for 20. That's what's not right. Him taking you out because they promised Nate something, right? That's right. All right? This organization just does right by the wrong people when they should be doing that right by their quarterback, their franchise guy. But that's a story for another day. But, hey, you show some loyalty to a guy like that? Good. Good for you. Okay? But for you to say it's not right, 7 for 20 is not right. All right? That's what's not right. For old friend, this is the guy. Here's our savior. Well, welcome home, you guys are freaking delirious. Delirious. It's like an under 50% completion percentage for a pro quarterback. Any other quarterback gets roasted. I don't care if you're a rookie, you're from the CFL, you freaking got off Vince Vaughn. I'm not a wrestling guy. You guys know where I was going with that. Vince McMahon. You get on Vince McMahon bus. Okay, I don't care. I don't care. If you can't complete 60% of your passes, get out of the league. unless you're running a 4-2 and nobody can catch you and you're freaking Lamar. Get out.
72 passing yards, Tom. And people are crying about putting that guy on the bench in a meaningless football game. 72 passing yards.
And break it down anymore. 3.6 yards an attempt in a real life game. And a real life game. And a real life effing football game. I don't want to hear it anymore. Y'all ran it. Y'all ran a guy out of here. The media had a major part in running 11 out of here. And now we're at where we're at. And we're going to see where the chips fall in this offseason. But this is a joke. This is a joke, and it's an organizational failure. And I knew the reason why they drafted him. I understand the investment side of it as a business. I get it. I understand it. It shouldn't have hurt 11's feelings. And if it did, grow up. Okay, grow up. You know how I stand on that? Grow up and play. Okay? But this whole thing's a joke. And this ties in to people being upset about a loss when us as Eagles fans or any teams that are going south as an organization that need talent are want to lose. As a fan base, we want to lose. And people were outraged last night, putting their big boy pants on, saying, well, if you ever played a sport, no fucking shit. The players aren't trying to lose. Grow up. Grow up. This team stinks. They didn't try to lose. They're just not good enough. My goodness.
Tom, I don't even know where to begin. Because, like you said, the fact that this is even a conversation, like part of me wants to say I'm surprised that there's an outrage right now, but part of me is not surprised at all because nothing surprises me anymore, and it just continues to get worse with this. I want to say fake outrage, but I honestly believe people were offended by it. And I'll start with these Giants fans, okay? And I'll start off by saying I do not give a damn what Giants fans think or say. That's number one. Number two, and Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman and the players also don't care. Two, for everyone complaining that we cost you the playoff spot. Number one, you won 6 games. Number two, you were 31st in points. 31st. There was only one team that was worse than you, and at the midway point of the season, you were 1-7. 1-7. And you want to talk about playoff spot? Playoff spot? Playoff spot? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You had plenty of opportunities to win this division outright. No one cares about your playoff spot. Number two, for everyone saying, oh my God, us taking Jalen Hurts out in the fourth quarter kept us from really learning some more things about Jalen Hurts, and now we don't know who he is. First off, we talked about this last week before we even got into this mess. Are you truly telling me with a straight face that one more quarter in a meaningless football game with a backup squad on the offensive line, a backup squad with the running backs, basically your 3 top guys, Deshaun, Alshon, and I guess you could say Rager's a top guy because of draft pick. They weren't playing in the game, especially because of Rager with the concussion. You're going to tell me that we're going to learn exactly who Jalen Hurts is in that fourth quarter? That's going to push it over the edge. That's going to make the decision, and everything will be solved. Come on.
Well, they're the same people that said, oh, you're not going to learn enough about him in 4 weeks anyway. Well, no shit. No shit. But I can learn a little bit, and I can learn the things that were my concern. You can't throw the football enough in this league. Simple. And arm strength doesn't grow on trees. So I'm disgusted by it. And all these freaking the losers. Oh, yeah, it's so bad for football. So bad for football.
It happens every week. It happens.
Football put a meaningless game for one team and a meaningful game for another in a primetime spot. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's what they did. So that's on you, football. That's not on the Eagles. The Eagles have stunk all year. I don't know why that's even a conversation. Like, they're not good enough to know how to tank. You gotta be good. You gotta be good to tank, or just be bad. And like you said, the back up this, back up that. It's been back up all year. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's even anything new. It's just even more backups. You know what I mean? We're used to backups, and honestly, backups on defense played better than the defense felt like all year. So I'll give them a little credit. But I mean, we couldn't move the ball offensively. He ran for a little bit. We have receivers you can't catch. We have a quarterback with no arm strength, and people thought that this game was like a fix, like a fix. If you want to look at the fix and look to Willie's team and Beeman, who's 7 for 20. Okay, look at him. Look at him right in the eyes then. I mean, come on. I'm just so sick of it. So sick of it. We're running Carson out of here all because of we'll get into that in a minute. But you guys finish up on the poll. I mean, if somebody really disagrees, if somebody agrees, I need to know.
Not only am I not outraged, like I really couldn't like give less of a fuck. Like I care like not one bit about it. Like it doesn't like it's not even anything that I like put one thought into. I was like, okay, like once I figured it out, I was like, well, yeah, you could have seen this coming with how they had all the inactives throughout the week. Like I'm not going to get worked up about it. I love how people are worked up about this scenario, but whenever teams sit players though, like the Steelers did, and hey, the Steelers play all their starters, maybe they prevent the Browns from getting to the playoffs. But no, the Steelers can sit everybody. That's okay because we want to keep them healthy for the playoffs. Nobody has a problem when it's the other way around, even though that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? We were fucking with the integrity of the game there because we weren't playing our best players and giving it 100% and trying to, put our best effort forward. It's all nonsense. It's just people looking for something to get worked up about. I compare it to like sometimes when like people get all bent out of shape when you're flipping, bats and shit after hitting 500-foot home runs in baseball. Like, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. Like, none of this stuff that people want to try to make into a big issue bothers me in that way. I couldn't care less about it. Or could care less, whatever the fucking saying is, so we don't get corrected like you did earlier, Tommy.
I don't know what the right saying of that is.
Sorry if I got it.
Whatever the hell it is, that's where we stand. Couldn't care.
Yeah. Don't care.
Care.
Out of me.
Don't care. I don't think it affected the integrity of the game. If the Giants want to be so mad, be mad at yourselves, be mad at your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to get into the playoffs based on other teams, you already weren't good enough. Now, if you want gripe, then talk to me about the AFC. When you talk about 10-win teams not getting in. Okay, don't talk to me about no six goddamn win football team not getting in and integrity. Please. Can't do it tonight. Can't do it today. Jake?
Yeah, I think with me, I'm gonna pretty much go based off what everyone else was saying. I'm gonna disagree with the poll. Because look at it this way: you think Cowboys fans care? You think the Washington football team cares that we quote unquote tanked? And for some reason, the national media just needs something to go off of and be quote unquote outraged about something that's not even really a big deal. But again, it's the national media, so they'll try and pull every single little tidbit that they can. And again, was Jalen Hurts really going to be the difference maker? And like Rye said, he had 70 yards? 70 yards yesterday?
Oh, 72.
Yeah,
we
72.
Add the 2 in there. We have to add the 2.
Or change them.
Yeah, you think he was really going to make a difference yesterday? It's just ridiculous. And if the Giants really wanted to handle business, they should have handled it week 7. If they want to be mad at someone, be mad at Evan Ingram that didn't make that catch. If Evan Ingram makes that catch, you're in the playoffs. So I don't know why they're mad at us. It's just ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous.
And the other thing I'll add really quick is the people, especially on the Seth Joiners of the world, they were saying last night, oh yeah, maybe the league will get involved. Maybe we'll hear from the commissioner. God. The league flexed the game. They put us on prime time. Do you really think they didn't know what they were doing?
That's what makes it so funny. They put us there.
They said, hey, you're going from a 1 o'clock to an 8:20. But they're going to then come back and say, oh, well, we're offended by your – They put us there.
They could have flexed at any point. At any point when they saw injury reports, who wasn't playing, they could have flexed the game again if they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They had time to flex that game if they wanted to. It's a freaking joke. They could have put Buffalo and Miami there if they wanted a game there. Well, I know it's been like -10 there in Buffalo, but – whatever, you want integrity, then you got all the tough football people, right? Well, -10, it's nice and rough and tough, right? I mean, come on. You got what you got. You got 2 bad football teams playing. One's playing for their life, and the other one playing loose. And sometimes the team that doesn't have anything to play for looks like the better team in them situations. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we're not. And they're not any good either. And they tried to give us the game, and we still couldn't take it. And it shows how bad we are. So that's why we're drafting in the top 6. I don't understand why people thought we were good and why Giants fans who watched us play over the last X amount of weeks would even think we're good enough. and even have a feel for life and saying, you know what? Oh my God, you see the Eagles injury report this week on who's not playing? Like everybody.
Yeah.
Besides like a few guys were playing, obviously, a few vets, but most guys weren't playing. So, like Zach said, we all said, like, what were you expecting? Were you expecting a win just because it was close? So it was close. You have to leave Hurts in? No, not if you said, "Oh, Nate, we're going to get you a quarter." If you made that commitment to a player, so be it. Who cares? It doesn't mean you're not still trying to win. He just stunk.
I love how the broadcast acted surprised. Like, I can't believe Collinsworth. I mean, leave it to Collinsworth to sound like an idiot, right? But I can't believe they would bring in Nate Sudfeld. Like, where have you been all week? Where did you guys do any prep on like what was like being talked about throughout the week? Like, it was literally said that Sudfeld was going to play in the second half of this football game. I don't know why Eagles fans were shocked by it. There seemed to be people shocked that, like, well, you know, it was a close game. They should have stuck with Hurts. Like, they said they were going to play him. Like, I can't be surprised at it at this point. They said they were going to do it.
Zach, you're spot on. People were talking about it on this platform on Tuesday. Tuesday of last week, they were talking about Sudfeld. We've known it for over a week. So where's the shock? I thought these commentators and these analysts, they met with the team beforehand. I thought they always talk about, oh, well, we talked to the coach. Did they not listen when they said Sudfeld was going to be in? If I knew that and Tom knew that and we all knew that, how is it shocking to them?
Yeah, or the fact that, like, dude, you're not dressing your usual two and you're just dressing Nate out of nowhere. Tells you everything you know if you just have a feel for life in the game. That, guess what? He's probably going to get it. I bet you he gets some run. No matter how the game's going, because it's a freaking preseason game. Like, they're just looking to see how guys come out and fight, because guys are always going to try to win. Players are going to try to win. So in the end reality, it's not like it's not like Doug's like blowing the game on purpose. They stink. Doug's been bad all year, and I'm a Doug guy. So, I mean, is it new? Doug going for fourth down. Oh, my God. You want the egregious one. It's not kicking the 52-yard field goal. That's the egregious shit. But that egregious shit's been going on all year. That's how dumb he's been. So you pay a kicker $21 million, but you never run him out there. I don't care. I don't fucking care if he kicks the ball and it lands up on 95, right? Because he shanked it so much. I don't care. You run him out there and you let him kick it. Now, down the goal line, I don't give a rat's ass. Go for it all the time. I'm like a Madden junkie. Like, down the goal line, we're going for 7, all right? Because we're going to make a statement. If not, you go drive 95. I love that. But I have no time for the other ones. You're paying guys that bail you out in them situations for 52-yard field goals when drives stall. You're paying that guy to bail you out of a drive that stalled. That's why you got kickers. So Doug's been egregious all year, and that's why we know he needs an offensive coordinator since he's back, obviously. But I don't know why people would be upset by this. If you are upset with it, please let us know. We'll talk to you and we'll convince you otherwise. And if you don't want to listen, then we can't help you. You know what I mean? But there's nothing, unless you're a Giant fan and you're up in your feelings, there's nobody with a straight face that you come in here and say, what they did last night wasn't right. Wasn't right. Unless you're related to, like, Jalen. You know what I mean? Like Jalen's your cousin, and you're like, oh, I don't like it. Well, then I would tell you to tell your cousin to not go 7 for 20.
And also, Tom, I would remind people that because this is Philadelphia, and if they would have kept him in, this is a scenario, but again, this is a scenario that which we know would probably have happened. If he would have remained in there the entire game, behind once again, it was already the backup squad, but now it's like the backup to the backup squad offensive line, to where even the guys that were healthy, the Mailatas and the Driscolls and all those, like, they're not even dressing. If you would have kept Hurts out there while he was once again struggling in a meaningless football game, and he would have gotten banged up or injured, well, this fan base and everyone around the NFL would have then called out Doug and Howie and this organization for saying
meaningless game.
For keeping him out there in a meaningless football game.
And if he tears his ACL, I just want to give a bit of a hypothetical. He tears his ACL in the fourth quarter of that game, they get rolled over here in this city. All right? The media here, the media nationally, it becomes the dumbest organization ever. What would they do this for? blah, 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 right? So that's 100% spot on. And it's like you can't have it both ways, right? You can't have it both ways. You can have it one way, which is the way we all knew coming into this game. Let's lose. And I'm never saying let's lose. But I remember coming on here last Monday saying for the first time since 2015, I want to lose a football game. Because I want that pick. Because I need that pick. I need it. And this isn't Howie Roseman making this pick. This is us as a fan base making this pick. We're making best player available. We're doing it. We're talking into existence. All right? All right, let's segue to the future of 11 here. And let's get to some, let's get to some of the comments first because there's so many of them. Ray saying, I'm not upset. I just hope we nail the draft. Yeah. That's the goal. That's why we're losing. BP Patrick laughing at the Giants. They're upset right now. Saying a lot of balls were dropped last night because Reagor stinks. Everything they told me. Oh, he goes up against contested balls. That's contested. That's a drop. The only guy who looked like he had a pulse last night was JJ. And listen, he's still under contract. So, I mean, if you can find that pulse next year, we would love to have it. Like, whenever you guys want to wake up, Howie said, well, sometimes young guys take a little longer. That is true. You better hope next year is a year maybe you can play the guy, because he did make a contested catch against a defense that's fighting for their lives. So,
Is Howie a 3-year plan for everybody?
Yes. That's why every pick's a reach. That's why every pick's a reach. Hawk, we as Giants fans, we are pissed. Y'all tanked. It's going to be bloody when we play you next year. It's on the Giants. We'll get revenge. You know what? Maybe I would believe you get revenge if you would have probably lost the game that you should have lost last year and got Chase Young like you should have. Okay? So you didn't. And how's that working out for you? How's it working out for you? You hate to see it. I hate to see it. I hate to see you guys going through this. And you're going to thank us a lot for not being a one and done and having the 11th pick of the draft. Okay? So you should thank us for having the 11th pick of the draft and say that you guys coming in here and being a bunch of sore losers and crumbs.
I got to ask Giants fans, and partially I'm doing it to make fun of you because the reaction is just embarrassing. Like, everyone wants to talk about they're embarrassed with the Eagles. No, I'm embarrassed for the Giants. I'm embarrassed for you and all the players and all the idiotic tweets. Why did you want that playoff spot to begin with? So you can raise a banner that meant nothing? Like, honestly, you want to crown yourself for winning a division with 6 wins? What? It's not going to help you to go one and done and end up with a 19th overall pick. I don't understand. I don't get it. What is so attractive to being one and done against the friggin' Buccaneers?
False sense. It's fine. They'll thank us in April or May. Anthony says, I blame Washington for not putting their backups in the game. Why would you blame Washington? I don't know what you're saying. Brian says Eagles play Kansas City, Tampa next year. That'll be fun. They might as well pencil them in now.
0-2. Yep. Good start. Here we go.
And Pop's right. We've had enough of this year. This year couldn't end any sooner as an Eagles fan than an ending. And it ends just in typical fashion, just so much media coverage on nothing. Right? So much on nothing. Get some more here. Stan says Reagor is bad. I really, really bad. We have to get a receiver this draft, even though I want Sartain. Yeah, I can't see this team getting another receiver in the first round. These two guys got to figure it the fuck out. You use 2 big assets on them. How about we coach them up one time and we figure some things out with these 2? Pop says, once you're in, anything can happen. Yeah, no, of course. As Eagles fans, you want to get in. I don't care if I'm 6-10. I'm upset I'd be upset if the Giants were in that spot and lost, but I wouldn't be this outraged. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be this pissed off about it. Clay says the Eagles are in bad shape. They've got to clear $64 million to get on their cap. Yeah, they're already working towards that. Obviously today with restructuring Alshon and Malik Jackson's deal. Now I don't know what that does, if that makes it easier to move them, if that makes it easier to keep them. Regardless if they're here or not here, it gives you cap flexibility. I don't think Alshon's here, but I would assume Malik's back, but I could be completely wrong.
It's basically to front load it that way. After the June 1st date, they can cut them or trade them. So where it makes it way more flexible to get rid of it, move on, and that way there's not dead cap just sitting there.
And if they were to do
they're
that,
pretty much
it would be
both gone, is what you're saying.
$23 million in cap space. They would get $23 million in cap space for it.
Well, it's a done deal.
Yeah, so they're both gone.
All right. Now you're down you went from 62 to 40. Anyway, keep working. Man, you better keep crunching them fucking numbers, Doug.
Zach Ertz next.
I mean, Doug, Howie. Better keep crunching them numbers. And speaking of Zach Ertz next, and this is real though. Like, we had a guy in our quarterback position, 28 years old, and another guy who's 30, right? Like, where did we go wrong? Well, I can tell you where we went wrong, but how did we not build around these two? Like, how did we not build around these two? Instead, feel like we did the opposite. It's just it's mind-boggling. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I could see. I got to see Ertz's cap hit next year, but I could see. I know they're in their emotions right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ertz is back. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, it wouldn't shock me. Like, it wouldn't shock me either way. If they backloaded some of his money and gave themselves some cap flexibility, you know what I mean? We'll see what direction they go there because they rely so much on their tight ends. Like, that's what they did.
I think I know we talked about this on Wednesday, Tom, and we were talking about percentage chances. And I said like a 0.2% chance Ertz would be here. But the more I think about it, I could really see them, especially now that we know they've already gotten started with kind of the clearing of the money with, Malik and Alshon, to where they do their due diligence, they shop them around. And if they don't receive what they believe is a, appropriate offer for Zach Ertz via trade, I could see them going back and trying to restructure it, a million kind of different ways. That way he kind of gets what he wants. Maybe he gets more guarantees up front, but that can then help them later in the cap. You know how this works with the NFL and the money. It's all a gray area. No one really understands it. Also, Howie, it seems like he doesn't quite understand it right now. But I could see it to where, hey, they put the feelers out there. Maybe they only get inquiries about maybe a fifth or maybe a high fourth, and they don't like that. Maybe they want a third or a second. And then they say, okay, well, we're not just going to give them away, so we'll try and figure it out.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could see them trying to try to mend this relationship with Carson with Zach. I mean, they got to, if they're going to try to mend it, then they want to try to bring in people that work well with him, right? If you're trying to mend the relationship, and it's not like Ertz is getting paid crazy amount of money, and he's under contract next year
for 2 years. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think is next year his final year. I feel like it's 2 more years.
Next year is, I believe.
Okay. Here's the 5 years. I mean, this is pretty much the year to move on from that contract. Listen, I'd love for him to be back too, but the man I saw today in that press conference is a man that, to me, knows he's gone. Now, we don't know everything behind the scenes, but if it's known that they're thinking about shopping him and they want to trade him, the man I saw today tells me he knows there's plenty of people that want to trade for him, and if the Eagles can find a way out of his contract, he's gone, because it seemed like a man that was saying goodbye.
Yeah,
and he was sad, and you could tell it was genuine, heartfelt sadness coming from him. So I don't know. I'd be shocked if after that I'm seeing him in an Eagles uniform next year. But anything can happen, obviously.
I know. Listen, I knew they were close. I didn't know how close. Last night seemed to show you even more of that between him and Wentz. And with one more year left on your deal, I would usually say, yes, that's right. Right? Like that's when you usually move on from guys. But also when you have so much cap space to still try to figure out, right, that you can't afford dead cap hits. You know what I mean? You're not in position for dead caps. So unless they do the same thing they did with I don't know. I mean, what's his dead cap hit next year?
Well, I think his guaranteed money's gone. So I don't think there's a dead cap with getting out of the Ertz contract, because I think all the guaranteed money that was in that deal is now gone. It's just the final year of that deal, if you decide to commit to it or not. But I don't believe they And if there was a dead cat, it'd probably only be like 1 or 2 million or something like that, whatever the minimum would be, because I'm pretty sure most of the money in that deal is already paid.
Jay, can you check?
Yeah, for Ertz's cap hit next, it's 7.7. Yep.
So trading him would cost 7.7.
Yeah, dead cat.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. The next
year would be 12.4.
His cap hit the next year is nothing.
So
the following year, yeah.
Yeah, his cap hit the next year is 3.5, but that's when you're getting out of it.
Yeah, does all that change like when the new league year starts? All that so does it go down after a certain date or whatever?
After like a June 1st number, it's one of those deadlines. Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, it's that 3.5 number. Like so, at some point, if they get to a point where that number is a 3.5 number, it may be much easier to take that hit, get out of that deal or whatever. Or, I don't know. I mean, it seems like if there's no interest in signing a long-term contract, then it seems like on both sides, it's almost like, okay, we know we're not going to sign you long-term. You want to get signed long-term, so we're going to find a way to get, you're traded. You can go play somewhere else where you wanted. It's going to be a long-term deal, and everybody wins in this thing long-term. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know, Matt said 12 million cap hit. So that, I mean, it's tough either way. So you almost got to restructure it. If he does stay, you almost got to restructure it to try to open up some money. And I mean, listen, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You don't have to be in a rush to trade a 30-year-old tight end. You know what I mean? There's like positions that I rush to try to get out of deals. But I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in a rush to get rid of them.
Joe brings up, he says, dude, I know I might sound crazy, but why not trade out of Brandon Brooks' contract? Dude has played like 17 games in 3 years.
Because that's why he's played 17 games in 3 years and he's got 2 Achilles injuries. I mean, who really wants to trade into that deal? It's just a situation where, and he's a good player when he's been on the field with us. I'd actually rather hold on to that contract. You might end up, he could come in really, really valuable next year when he's back playing for you, healthy on that offensive line.
I completely agree, Zach, to where that's the one guy because with the money situation, and also you're trying to find a team that's going to try and take that risk on bringing in a guy that's only played a handful of games, if in relation to the whole sample size of the 3 years. We know how important he is to that offensive line, and pretty much to this entire team. We know how important he is, to where he's one of those guys to where I'd rather just hang on to him and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather take the longer approach to that.
When Zach called me earlier, I said if Brooks, Lane, and Dillard all played, and I don't even know what Dillard is, he might stink. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, if all 3 of them played and this offensive line stayed intact all year and they were healthy, this team wins 9-10 games.
They walk away with the division. 100%.
Just factual. It's just how it would work. I mean, no quarterback, no coach can draw up plays and overcome, one of the worst offensive lines ever, and the more offensive line changes than ever before in the NFL. Like it's not something you overcome. So I mean, it's not an excuse. It's not something you overcome. And this whole organization needs to figure it the hell out. But like, I think both could be. I mean, I think Carson's back because I just think it's too much. It's too much dead money. Like I don't know how they're getting out of that, and I don't know how. I don't think he's going to pay to get out of it.
Can I honestly, and I want to ask your opinions on this too, because maybe I'm missing something. I can't for the life of me. So this report that keeps coming up, and I know Orlovsky's talked about how he only, he said it in our DMs. I know you briefly touched on it last night on your show, Tom, that, the only guy he trusts in the NFL is Frank Reich. And, now we hear again from different sources that the fractured relationship between Doug and Carson's going to cause a breakup between the two. And, then you see Carson refuses to talk to the media. I can't for the life of me figure one thing out. Why is it that their relationship is fractured? What did Doug do? Did Doug not hang on to this guy and keep putting him out there, keep giving Carson plenty of chances to fix things this season? I mean, I'm pretty sure that Doug Peterson hung on to him as far as putting him out on the field probably 4 to 6 weeks longer than a lot of people in this city would have. To where I keep going back to where if he doesn't like Doug right now, well, then he would hate all of us because we would have benched him 3 weeks, 4 weeks before he actually did.
If he was doing him any favors, he would have. If he was doing him any favors, I mean, the guy was getting smoked back there. I mean, there's no, at some point you're just gonna get hurt.
Yeah. Does anybody feel like there's maybe some hardball being played on both sides all of a sudden? Like maybe the reason Carson's refusing to speak is because his agent, his PRP, everybody's like, you're going to shut the fuck up and not say anything about this because we're trying to play a game right now where we're trying to create as much leverage on our side as we can. And that's the same reason Howie Roseman just came out today after all these weeks and said, it's unfair to pin everything on Carson. Well, hell, if you would have said that 6 weeks ago, Howie, maybe we wouldn't have been in this situation, but I don't know. That's another fucking story for all of this. I just feel like there's a bunch of hardball all of a sudden being played on both sides because as soon as the season ends, that's the way this is going to work. Now, each side's got to try to, get themselves in position for the best possible deal of what's best for their client. So,
Yeah, but what's
Carson
best for his
people got to do what's best for him, and Howie's got to do what's best for the Eagles.
Yeah, what's best for his client is telling him not to speak, period, because nothing good comes out of it. I mean, that's what's best for your client.
And not one of these sources, even Schefter said, not one thing has been something that Carson Wentz has said. It's all been from what we've heard from people around Carson's people, the agent, all this, but nothing that we've heard has ever been said. It's particularly from Carson himself, right? So I've just got to think there's a bunch of this is just the business side of football kind of taking over right now, and we're just along for the ride. It could get ugly. It could end in a happy ending.
We are along for the ride because what good does it come out for him to speak today? Like
nothing, of course.
For the media, for the media to dissect it and say, well, he's just lying, or he's just coming out to speak because he knows he didn't tell the truth, or because he knows that all this is being talked about. The best thing for your client is nothing. It's nothing. It's literally go get your all season work in. Go get working for next year. That's the best thing for your client. Yep. What's answering questions, and what does he owe the media in this city? That's what I want to ask the people. Like, what does he owe the media in this city?
Yep.
Once you're not the starting quarterback, you don't have to go in front and go to any pressers. And you sure don't have to do season-ending pressers, right? That's on the team to do. That's not on a player to do. Player doesn't owe you that at the end of the year. It's a joke. His media now is critical of him because he didn't want to do a presser. That's all you see. Oh, Carson Wentz didn't want to do a presser.
And if he did do a presser, he would have been kind of forced into being somewhat definitive on whether he wants to stay or not. And if I'm Carson, just taking everything out of it, just looking at this organization and looking what it's going to be like, potentially looking on paper for the next year, I don't know do I want to go out of my way to say I want to be a part of this after this embarrassment? You know what I'm saying? Like, who wants to, like, I look at Jim Schwartz and I'm like, they're forcing him to retire. Well, if I'm Jim, I'm looking at the contract. Why do I want to be here? For what? For what? You know what I'm saying? They're not winning anything. There's no credibility or leadership or integrity, since everyone wants to talk about integrity. There's no integrity with this team and this organization right now. So why would I talk to the media when I don't have to? Why would I say something to the media, baiting myself and trapping myself into saying, A, I don't want to be here, or B, I am going to be here? Because 2 months down the line, something could change, or even a week down the line when they have these meetings, and it could be as simple as he finds out something, or Doug, or Howie, or whatever, and that completely flips the entire perspective. There's no way. There's no way I'm talking. No possible way. If I'm
you're going to say, oh, I want to be here, and people are going to say, no, he doesn't. He's just saying that because what's he going to say? Well, exactly. What's he going to say? That's what I'll tell my agent. What are you going to say? That you want to? If I'm Carson comes up to me and says, I want to speak to the media. What are you going to tell him? Well, I'm going to tell him I want to be here. And how do you think that's going to go? That's what I'll tell him if I'm representing him. So they're going to spin that out. That the only reason you came out to say that was because you really don't want to be here. You're just telling us what we want to hear, and then you spin that all out of control, and this will become even worse off than it already is. The only way to make this relationship work moving forward is saying nothing.
They need space
to the media, space and nothing to the media. And I don't think that Doug and Carson's relationship's fractured. I think him and Howie's may be, and that's on Howie, and that's on Howie to make that right. That's not on Doug. Doug didn't go out there and lead the league in turnovers. So, I mean, that's not on Doug. I mean, Doug has a helping hand in it, but he didn't do it himself, right? So, I mean, how much some stuff goes on Carson this year, like we've talked about. So the whole thing's a mess, and the only good thing for it moving forward right now is nothing. Let's let time sort of heal the wounds and see if we can't come out of this with either a fixed relationship, if anything's even broken, because I don't know what's all broken between Wentz and the organization, besides them giving him a ton of money and him having a bad year. Well, like I told you guys, as soon as you start losing in locker rooms, now everything's a problem. Mm-hmm. Nobody trusts nobody. Everybody, everybody's out to get me. It becomes a woe is me because you stink as a team.
Well, let me ask you something real quick, because Tommy and Ryan, we've had enough conversation about the eye test, right? Well, how about the smell test in a situation like this? Like, I kind of like my BS meter has gotten higher and higher and higher over the past 3 weeks, where it feels almost like the organization kind of kicked Carson to the curb, and Jalen was the new girlfriend, and they were all excited, and that's the new thing, and now they're almost like, ooh, now we're worried maybe Jalen isn't the great new thing we thought he was, and now they're trying to crawl back to Carson a little bit and say, hey, we need you to stay in the picture. We might be coming back to you here. It's like a weird. It's just like a weird situation where they're trying to play one against the other. I don't know, that's why I feel like if I'm Carson, as much as people might say it's fucked up, I can understand why Carson feels if the reports are true about there being a fractured relationship with whether it's Doug, Howie, whatever it is, the organization. I can kind of see why. It feels like the organization was trying to, okay, you know what, we're just moving on. We're moving on to Jalen, and then they realized, shit, he's not good enough for us to move on to, and now we've got to try to save face, and that's why Howie's coming in and saying we shouldn't have blamed. Carson doesn't deserve all the blame. That's not fair, and all these things.
You're too deep. You're too deep.
Well, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I don't know what to think about how the business side of the NFL works, other than to think that once they made the move to Jalen, that was it. You're not going back to Carson ever. So why all of a sudden would they try to play this side of it like they still want Carson to be the quarterback next year when they had already made the decision that they were moving to Jalen?
Hold on. He led the league in turnovers. What do you want them to do? They didn't do him wrong. They sat him down. I don't think they
did him wrong.
I don't think
once you make that decision,
you can't go back to it.
Can you?
Yeah, because I don't know if they believed he was the new toy.
Name a situation where you've moved on from a starter, gone to the backup, and it's not just like, oh, we just benched somebody for a half or something like that. You've actually moved on and said, yeah, this guy's the quarterback for the rest of the year. And then all of a sudden, in the offseason, it's just all changed, and now there's going to be an open quarterback competition. That's not how these things work. I can't think of a situation where that has been how it's worked.
Well, because
recent memory.
Because the quarterback position is the softest position in all professional sports. That's why. Because every quarterback's a mental midget with most of them when it comes to competition.
Face. But it's also the nature of the business when you're paying a guy $30 million. He's not going to restructure that contract to sit on the bench. If they're restructuring the contract, it's get traded. And you're not going to pay a guy $30 million to sit on the bench, are you?
This was never supposed to happen.
Well, I agree, but it has. And it did.
But I'm telling you, they only drafted him for protection.
Yep.
Because the quarterback hasn't won a playoff game.
And then the plan changed because they decided to move on to him.
Oh, they decided to move on to him. I think
it happened a year too early. That was the problem. They looked at this projection and they projected that he could be the long-term insurance policy, but the short-term insurance policy as far as health, and he sucked. So they were forced into it. It happened a year early.
No, I don't even think it's even that deep. I just think they thought that he would be they liked him as being that, like, they wanted the best backup in football. That's what they wanted in their eyes. So that if they're hear me out, if their $128 million man goes down, that they have an option to go to, and they can still win football games. So listen, hear me. They're so tied up against cap. They were trying to win this year. So they said to themselves, okay, if Carson goes down for a game or two, he can come in and maybe we can win a game or two. Right? That's how they were thinking. They never thought, all right, as organizationally, that this guy was the savior of this franchise. Now, you want to tell me if they thought this 3 years from now? I can't tell you that. But I can tell you in the moment right now, it was just meant for protection. It was in the wrong spot. So it never happened in the second round. but it did, and it should have never. It sums up 2020. It should have never came to the point where your quarterback had a horrendous year, where now you're handcuffed. That you have to run him out there and play him.
Okay. So this idea then that there would be a quarterback competition in the spring, to me, is still ridiculous. Whoever wins the competition is going to be pissed off. The other one's going to be pissed off that they lost. There's going to be a bunch of tension in that quarterback room, and you can't tell me that there isn't, because that's just the nature of the business when you're professionals.
I completely disagree with you.
The starting quarterback.
So
how the hell is that situation going to work?
I completely disagree with you. If there is two quarterbacks that have been through this in their lives recently, it's these two. So Jalen Hurts going to be all butthurt?
I guarantee you neither one wants to go through it again. You really think either one of them wants to go through it again?
Not my problem. This is professional sports.
And they don't think it's their problem either. If they've got a way out of it, they don't think it's their problem either. You're forcing them into a stupid situation now. They're forcing the organization into a stupid situation.
I'm not forcing them into shit. I didn't draft the guy in the second round. They did. Okay? I didn't lead with turnovers and didn't play 4 weeks. Okay? He did. I'm not a part of any of this. What I'm a part of is saying that there's no way, shape, or form that, like, I don't know how both of them are on your roster next year. So you need to figure it out and be creative.
See, I'm on the other side. I don't think they can coexist.
That's ridiculous. That's ass.
I don't think all of those people coexist in the same room. I don't think Howie, Doug, Carson, and Jalen Hurts. I don't think all of those people are coexisting. There's too much drama. But between the media and everything else that goes into it in the city, we saw it blow up this year. What do you think's going to happen next year with the whole offseason to simmer over it?
I don't know, but I'll tell you.
Blow up and get uglier? You really think it's going to get better?
No, you tell me.
I think it's going to get uglier, but I mean, I don't see how it gets better. I was hoping you were going to explain that.
Well, it gets better by a healthy offensive line. It gets better by hopefully your quarterback trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And that's what it gets better by. So, I mean, that's simple.
So which one's your quarterback? You're just waiting. You're literally going to decide that in the spring is what you're saying? You're having an open competition in training camp? Or have you committed to a guy and you're saying until further notice that's the guy at this moment?
No, I'm just going to get creative. And I'm going to put Hurts in spots. Like I should be a smart enough organization to do that.
Sure, but I don't think that's what they're going to do.
Okay.
They're going to pick a guy and roll with him.
Well, they can pick a guy and roll with him. They can pick Carson and roll with him. But why not use your talent? Why not use your talent in spots like we talked about? You got to sputter an offense. Put him in for a few plays. Whatever. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. I mean, this whole fractured BS crap is moronic.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of overblown.
If he's playing like Josh Allen, he ain't going to come off the field then. So I mean. You still can have set design things for Hurts and packages. You drafted him to do that. Not me. You drafted him. So now you got to figure out how you get all your talent on the football field. And egos in the quarterback room shouldn't be my biggest concern. My biggest concern is how can I win a football game? And my best ways is scoring points. So if they can somehow coexist and Carson will be my starter and Hurts being in packages, red zone packages, different things like that, then so be it. Like we should care about as athletes wins and losses. We shouldn't care about the rest. If we're winning football games, what does it matter who I'm hoisting the fucking Lombardi with? That's my biggest pet peeve here. Like, so is it about winning? Because if they can't coexist, Zach, then it's not about winning either one of them, and I don't want either one of them.
I think we're being naive if you think competitors, and Tom, you played sports at a plenty competitive level to know if there's all these other options out there, and they're like, yeah, you would be our starting quarterback here, and the only thing between you and being a starting quarterback there is somebody making a trade. Everybody, you're going to do everything you can to end up in the situation that's best for you in your career going forward. And that's just the nature of being a professional in any fucking business we want to talk about, especially in a billion-dollar industry like this.
I'll
sit on the bench. I'll sit on the bench in my prime.
What the fuck are you talking about? They drafted him in the second round. He came into an organization where the quarterbacks signed for $120 million.
I was talking more like Carson. I was talking more from Carson's perspective.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about for Jalen. What did Jalen think he was coming into? A starting role?
Sure, but has Jalen demanded anything at this
point? That's all that matters.
I think Jalen at this point thinks it's his football team. Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts at this moment thinks this is his football team.
1-3 as a starter, 52%.
Yeah, I agree. That's a stupid thing to think, but I also heard Doug and Howie. I heard Howie say today that he thinks he's been great at drafting over the past few years. So the whole organization, I mean, there's a lot of naive shit going on, but if you want to act like quarterbacks aren't that type of way, that, hey, this is now my football team, I mean, that's just the way they think. That's just the way they act. I think it's hard for us to think that Jalen Hurts isn't going into the offseason thinking, hey, this is my football team now.
No, I don't. I think that's a reach. I think then we look at then we're assuming their relationship, or we're assuming what's in Jalen Hurts' head. You know, I mean, I'm sure he wants to be the starter. Who doesn't want to be the starter?
Yeah, I would think that'd be like the natural mindset. He's just going to sit there with the natural mindset of this is my football team until somebody tells me differently, which I like that. I like the fact. I think both of them should have that mindset. But if both of them have that mindset, you're running into issues real quick. You know, you've got a lot of, you know, I think an ego is a big part of this. And we got to act like, we'll take the egos out of all. Ego has a lot to do with getting to this level of professional sports. And I think there's already plenty of ego in that building that I'm a little bit concerned about. I don't need there to be any more.
So who stays? I'm going to ask you guys this. Then if you have to get rid of one, who do you think realistically would get dealt? And who do you think, and who would you want to get dealt? Right? It's like realistically, I don't know if like realistically, you can't deal Wentz. Like you'd be considered one of the worst organizations in sports if you dealt him. Right? With the money you just gave him.
You'd be paying him like $32 million this year to go succeed for another team.
Mm-hmm. If he restructured that to something like weird where like they can trade him this year and it only costs them $2 million or something, and then like there's a bunch of money in the back end of that contract or something like, he's talking about restructuring to get out of the deal and get traded.
Make this easy. Atlanta, you want Hurts? Give us your second round pick this year. That's what I want. Because I want to pick almost back to back in the second round because I need talent. Because I need talent on my roster then if I got to commit to one. So either way I'm going, I want to make sure I'm adding picks this year. I think realistically it would be Hurts because of the money. If one had to go, it's just have to go. Okay,
easier to trade him.
Yeah, it's easier to deal him, and I think he gets something back because there's teams that are always looking for quarterbacks, and Atlanta's a team to me that would be an organization that could sort of be all over something like this. You know what I mean? But I look at that now. Who do I want? I want both of them here because I'm a breeder of competition. I don't give a rat's ass about anything else. Let the best guy play. But that being said, I still think it's the same guy getting moved realistically. I don't see Carson buying himself out of this deal, and I sure as hell don't see him even signing a deal to backload money on this deal. You know, like because if it's true even a little bit that he's not happy with some people up top or don't trust him, you think he's going to let him back pay him some money? Absolutely not. So
it would have to be something like, I guess, where like the sign and trade's in place and he knows this is where you're going to go, this is where we're trading you to, and now the new deals. I mean, that's how I'm assuming if they're talking about restructuring a deal in order to be able to like restructuring his contract in order to make a trade happen, I would think all that's going to be involved in it. They know where they're trading, they know who the partner is, they know what they're getting in return, yada yada.
Well, I'll ask you guys this. You know, in the scenario of trading Wentz, do you think it's realistic that you'd be able to get at least a first-round pick for Wentz from a team?
I mean, I wouldn't be trading Wentz. Like, if you're not giving me a first-round pick, I'm not trading. Now we can just say, okay, fuck it, and I'll roll with Tom's idea. Like, if you're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you a fifth-round pick for him, fuck you. You're not going to fleece me for the guy. You know, we're not playing that game here. So, you know, but if somebody's like willing to throw a first-round pick at me, I might listen.
We'll finish this off. First off, everybody answer this question first, and then circle back to that one because I don't want to forget where we're at because we do that a lot, and that's just how we roll here. But so both you guys, all you three of you guys answered it. So realistically, if one has to go, who is it? And also, if one has to go, who do you want it to be to go? And for me, it's Hurts. And it's not that I want him to go. It's just if I had a gun to my head and I had to choose one, I'm choosing Carson. And realistically, I think if one had to go, it would be Jalen. It's just a more realistic situation. Personally, I don't think either one of them are going. But go ahead, guys.
Jake?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going the same way with Tom. It's Hurts for me. Just because obviously I think right now, just looking at it, Hurts' value is a lot more than what Carson's is right now, just based off of his terrible season. And again, like Tom said, there's a lot of teams that still need quarterbacks. So it makes a lot of sense to where you can move on from him. And if, like Tom said, it's a second round pick, I'll take that all day. But for obviously, like I said, it's hurts. But again, knowing Howie and kind of seeing that post game to where you saw Ertz, Kelce, and Carson sitting next to each other, it wouldn't shock me if Howie made a move to move on from Carson. But again, if you're talking realistically, yeah, it's hurts for me all day.
Do you think, like, and then you guys go, that moment brought me back in, like that I believe that, like, some of these guys can still win together. Like, I know the window is rapidly closing, but it's not as closed if our guys of talent, like, played and were healthy. Like, if all these guys on this roster are healthy, I just still believe that it's a 10-win team.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe you have the offensive line. It's sad to see that last night. It hurt. And I hope it's not over for all three of them here. Like, I mean, I'll take all three of them guys back in a heartbeat and continue to try to draft well. So Zach, Rye, whoever wants to go, what do you about which one realistically stays and which one do you want to stay or go, however you want to phrase it?
I guess I'll play a little devil's advocate because I don't know. I mean, I think if they want to, and this is just if they want to, if both sides want to, I think it's realistic enough for them to find a way to work out a Carson Wentz trade. And I think if one of them gets traded, it would be Carson Wentz. That's just from the business side of football of how I've seen how I feel I've watched these situations play out before. The Bengals drafted Andy Dalton in the second round.
Done with you. You're just like you're almost putting this into existence. I mean, I feel like deep down you want it to happen.
Because then you wouldn't know, because you had a second part to that question where you wanted to know what I wanted to do. See, you didn't let me finish. You don't let me finish because, see, I was going somewhere with it, and then you cut me off. I know, I love you. But we've had plenty of conversations. You should know what I want personally. I love Carson, and I've never jumped off the Carson bandwagon at any point where I've said, I don't think the guy's ever going to be a good quarterback. I've always said, if he ended up somewhere else and we traded him, whatever, we will regret it. He will win games. He will win, he's going to go and make deep playoff runs. He's going to have a lot of success. So I would love for Carson to work out here. But if I'm just going by what's the writing on the wall, unless I just completely dismiss all these reports as not being true, I've got to think that they're going to try everything they can to work out a trade on both sides. And maybe that sickens me, but maybe I've also just had to accept it, to the point where now I feel like it's realistic enough that it's going to happen, where I've just said, okay, if it happens, it happens. Doesn't mean I want it to, but I've seen things play out like this in the NFL plenty of times before.
All right, so realistically, I think it's Wentz. And if you had to choose, you'd rather have Wentz stay.
Yeah, I'd rather have Wentz stay if I could choose.
Right, anything different than the three of us so far?
No, I completely agree with Zach. I think realistically, when there's smoke, there's fire. I could see them finding there's a better chance them finding a way to trade Wentz, and then also bringing up the whole thing of, oh, well, it's not going to be a big deal because Hurts is technically not making big quarterback money, so we can deal with it. There's a better way and chance that they make that make sense instead of them just abandoning just because of a controversy or a competition a guy who they picked in the second round when they never had to. I don't want it to happen. I think it would be an absolute mistake to get rid of Wentz.
Mess.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's already a mess.
They're
going to become more of a mess.
As much as we want to believe they're not going to abandon a guy who's been here for 5 years and they paid a lot, they're definitely not abandoning a guy who they just picked when they didn't need to. And it's ridiculous. There's no logic behind it. But just knowing what this organization does, I honestly believe there is less than a 5, probably 2% chance Jalen Hurts is traded. Just because I just don't see it. Because if they ever had any plan of that, I believe they would have traded him freaking on draft night. You know what I'm saying? Like, any chances of him getting traded, it left the building once the draft was over. It left the building.
If it makes you feel any better, I will say this, because it's something that I've ran through my head a lot with it. I've thought about it enough where, like, I feel like them trading Carson could end up, like, if you look at it 10 to 15 to 20 years from now, we could look at that and say, wow, out of all the bad decisions in Philadelphia sports history, that could end up being the worst when we look back on it in the history of Philadelphia sports. It very well could be. it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. But, you know, it could end up being a complete disaster and blowing up right in our face.
Throw. For a guy who can't throw.
I mean, I agree. I agree with you.
I can't. I mean, and then what? What are you drafting? You drafting Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, and then you think that's
if Surtain's there, that's probably my guy.
I'm not asking us. I'm saying, what are they then? Then they're going to go get that. Then they're going to go spend that high pick on a playmaker on the outside. And you think that's gonna work when the guy's
going to draft Zach Wilson from BYU?
Well, I just want to ask this question because this was asked to me twice in the last 24 hours. The same thing, which I think is freaking eerie. So that's why I'm bringing it to you. I don't want it to happen. I'm just asking the question.
I think I know where you're going.
So in this scenario, I'm not even going to go to the first round pick. I'm just going to say the Jets trade for Wentz and we get the Jets second round pick, which is the second pick in the second round. Okay. So it's basically a first round. Okay. It's a really good second round pick. That's what we have, for Wentz in addition to what we already have in the draft. And we're heading into the draft with Wentz gone, with the 6th pick and the 34th pick. Do you think there's any chance in hell if Zach Wilson was there or Fields was there, they would go with one of them at 6?
Nothing would surprise me with him.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Nothing.
surprise me.
But, I might choke myself out.
And you know what would be the ultimate kick in the pants, Rye, if they go Trey Lance? If they go Trey Lance, I'm done.
Oh, another North Dakota?
I'm checking out.
Another North Dakota?
I'm checking out immediately.
I almost want to see it happen just so Tommy can have an aneurysm.
Possible. I think after the train wreck this offseason. Now, you're saying this if Carson's not here, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
But no, because then you're saying, oh, no shot of this happening. Because then you're saying you didn't just make one mistake. You made 2 mistakes. That's what you're telling me. So if that happens, I will personally, I promise every Eagles fan out there, I will burn the Nova Care Complex to the ground. That's a promise. If a quarterback is drafted here in Philadelphia on day 1, I will burn it to the ground. It's a promise to the people. All right? I'll supply the gasoline. Don't worry about nothing. Now, this is all jokes. Everybody calm down. I'm not really going to burn it to the ground. But I promise you, verbally, I will burn it to the ground. Okay? No, I don't think there's any chance of that happening. Do I think they can miss? Yes. Do I think if, like we talked about earlier, Zach, if the kid from Oregon drops, the lineman, that's a possibility. There's so many possibilities on who they could draft, but I don't know. I just think that they're going to try to run it back with both. And if Wentz does buy himself out of this deal, or they do back money it, or whatever they do, and they get out of it, then so be it. Then I'll be shocked by it. I'll be shocked.
If they're going to run it back with both, and you're going to have both of those guys as quarterback, I think I'd prefer to add a weapon then at that 6th pick. Like, give me Chase or Smith then, because as we saw this year, there wasn't really enough weapons on this offense to scare anybody, so that makes me feel like I need one.
Well, I mean, yeah, true, but I just think getting good protection up front gets guys open too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gets guys open. It gets guys in space, and it depends on who you have back. Like, if I have Ertz and Goddard, and I expect health from both of them too, then I can go Surtain in the first round. Patrick Surtain's they can't miss to me. We talked about earlier, Zach. My big board's easy. Lawrence, Surtain. And I know people want to tell me, how about the corner? Listen, pedigree doesn't always work out, but it works out pretty good when they play the same damn position. Kid's been groomed for this. Like, I've never seen in a college football game a team not throw at somebody, and I've seen a lot of great corners play at the college level. Never witnessed that. He's number 2 on my big board, and I miss on plenty of things come draft day. I don't miss on fucking DBs. All right, and that's why this defensive backfield has driven me crazy for years, because it's let me hit on a second rounder one time for you. Like, let me come in. Like, I'll miss on shit all day. I ain't missing on fucking DBs. It's just something kids got to smell for him in the draft. All right?
And Famine, he's not lying, because I think that was the first thing Tom ever said when I met him 6 years ago.
I don't miss on DBs. Miss on a lot of other shit. Obviously, miss on quarterback. I mean, thought Carson was the next coming of fucking Aaron Rodgers. So, you know what I mean? I miss on plenty of shit, but not DBs. You can just hire me for your DBs.
But then Howie will drive us crazy because we all want Patrick Surtain at 6, and he'll draft Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech and give us all an aneurysm, and we'll just
Caleb Farley can play. It's just not to the level.
Not to the level of that. It's going to be like the Rager over Jefferson pick.
Well, Darius Slay and Surtain would just they'd be on islands.
That's phenomenal.
So inclusive. So I can blitz all day. Like I can bring everybody. Like I can say, hello, I'm bringing 10. Like I'm bringing 9. I'm bringing 9 at you. We're just leaving 2 guys back there to cover 42 guys. No, it's not gonna be that egregious. But you can bring stuff and get more. And sometimes fighting fire with fire is good sometimes, but sometimes fighting fire with water really works, right? So if I can slow you down, like I'm telling you, automatically, if they drafted him tomorrow, I can say this for a fact. I don't know if I can say this for the offensive side because I don't know who my quarterback's going to be, right? But for the defensive side of the football, I can tell you right now, they draft this kid, they go into a top 10 defense in football next year because you're going to have trouble throwing on this team that quick because Avonte Maddox goes back to the slot where he belongs, and actually had a tiny bit of success, all right?
As a rookie.
So now look at your secondary. And you're probably going to have McLeod back because that's dead cap money too. So, I mean, your secondary's better. Kevon Wallace showed he can play a little bit. So you keep running the kid out there until he shows he can't play. But regardless, you can make up for problems at your safeties when you have 2 guys who can play man and love to get physical. And night-night, that's what that does. Caleb Farley doesn't do that to that level. But I'm telling you, year 1, this defense goes into that conversation because as much as I'm hard on Slay, if you had 2 of them guys, now like you talk about having a game plan for teams, like I can game plan to go at your other guy. Well, now if I got 2 guys, now I got to pick my poison, and that creates turnovers and that creates big plays that we need. And I'm telling you, sometimes fighting fire with fire is good. And I think we have all this speed supposedly at the wide receiver position. Like we need to go and fight some of these pass happy teams, which is the whole league. Right? Mm-hmm. And all these great skill position guys on the outside, you got to fight them with guys who can cover them.
Especially in our division. I mean, you look at the Cowboys we see twice a year. You got Slayton on the Giants. I'm not even talking about Tate, and you got freaking Sterling Shepard. You have McLaurin.
That's somebody to throw, right? Imagine if Washington and the Giants actually had quarterbacks who could throw the football. Then we'd be saying, oh my God, the whole NFC East kills us. Right? We just got lucky. But every time we played Dallas, besides the Nooch, besides the Ganucki start, right? Besides Uncle Ganucki, they lit us up. I mean, it was absurd. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit freaking who's playing the other outside. He got lit up. I'm tired of getting lit up. I'm tired of watching Sidney Jones go play well somewhere else. I'm tired of all this. Now you don't want to reach. You don't want to be nervous about a pick. Then just go solidify something. Because I said to Zach earlier, Michael Parsons, as much as I love him, is not worthy of the 6th pick of this draft.
No. Yeah, I completely agree.
Linebackers are used in the NFL anymore. They're just not. Now, would I love them? Sure, but I'm not taking – if I have my choice and everybody's on the board that I like in my spot, it goes Surtain, Devontae Smith, and then Jamar Chase. Because I'm not if I don't have to take 2 guys who didn't play a whole fucking year, I'm not taking them when I seen 2 guys play a full year.
Yep.
And they're going to be national champions. And then talk to me next week. We'll save this conversation for next Monday before national championship too. Because talk to me then. If Fields attacks them and beats them all day, then we'll have a conversation about maybe we should go with Smith then. All right, all right. But Chase definitely. If I don't have to, I'm not. Now, if I get Jamar Chase, I'm not mad. Like, don't get me wrong when I say this. I just would rather avoid the guys who haven't played football in a year. Like, that's not easy.
He's like a top 3, top 5 option for us in the draft. Not our number 1.
You think this? Yeah, this is a good one. Hassan says, if we take Surtain in the first, Schwartz comes back as defensive coordinator. Retire. I feel great about myself. I've been thinking about it.
No, you know what Schwartz would say? He'd be like, you guys, when I wanted Queen and friggin' Shin, you said no. But when I'm gone, now you take Surtain? Now you do it?
You'll take Parsons then. They'll take Parsons when he
No, they'll start the draft, Tom. They'll go friggin' cornerback, linebacker. That'll be their first 2 picks of the draft. You watch. And then Schwartz will be at home like, these freaking guys. These guys.
I just hope there's an offseason for these guys. for our young guys last year. I hope there's an all season for Jalen Reagor. I hope there's an all season for JJ because I need these guys to be able to play. Like, it's not about what I believe. I don't give a shit. I'm an Eagles fan. I want these guys to be able to play. I need as much work and time put in with each other as possible. Like, I need these guys to be able to play together. I can't keep taking wide receivers all day. These guys have to be able to play. And I actually believe, like, I don't think Reagor's a bust yet. You can't say that's not fair. Right? No. I'm down on him. And JJ looks like a bust, but he also hasn't fucking played. Like, that's part of being a bust if you don't play. But like, get the guy on the field. Like, he might be the only guy I see him trying to make a contested catch all year. I mean, Jesus God, get him on the field then. I mean, what do we wait so long for? Like, just let him play. If he stinks, then we find out. Like, but hopefully a full all season can help some of these things with some of these younger pieces that are going to have to play and be important to us. They need the reps. They need to work with whoever the freaking quarterback is, right? And that's so important. And I think the NFL will get it done, guys. And that's what I want your thoughts on it. And we can move on to the next topic. But, like, their COVID protocols have been really good in terms of that stuff. So I would have no reason not to believe that there wouldn't be full off-season programs with teams, especially outside, right? I mean, like they lost last year. I would assume all these things at least ramp back up moving forward, right? I mean, we would assume.
Yeah, because the problem this time last year, entering last year's offseason was that they were kind of playing from behind the entire time, to where they were kind of learning things as they went. Hell, I remember it was like 3 weeks before the season, they didn't even know what was going on 100%. They were still waiting on the paperwork and the Players Association. Everything was like being learned on the fly.
Patriots players were saying, "We're done."
Yeah. Like they kept pushing back the date on when they were going to opt out. Like, they didn't know anything. At least now, and this is obviously going with the assumption that everything's going to, go at least inch back to relatively normal. But even if it's not, maybe if they're on the same timeline as last year, at least they have that full year of dealing with all of this to work with and say, okay, well, we did this right, last year. We did this incorrectly the last year, so we're going to do this a little bit differently. But no, I mean, where we are right now, I shouldn't really see a reason why they wouldn't have some semblance of an off-season program for these guys.
Yeah, they definitely will. I mean, because most of it's going to be outside anyway. But that's going to be big on whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah.
Just wait, talk about, JJ, Watkins, Hightower, Reagor. I mean, I need two guys.
Am I really excited about Quez Watkins? I thought, like, over the past few weeks, Quez Watkins has really showed a lot of upside. I was like, I can't wait to see that kid after a full off season.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to learn how to catch, but he's fast. I'll give him that. He's at least when he drops the ball, he's fast. Unlike Reagor, when he drops the ball, he's slow.
I gotta go past, but how did you lose the locker room?
Tom's the human knockwurst guy.
How do you lose a locker room last night? After you think these players care in a meaningless game, they all try to compete and win and make plays, but they're not going to the locker room demoralized by a loss last night. My goodness gracious!
The only way they lose the freaking I honestly think people don't understand. Like, we were already eliminated from the playoffs. Like, if Doug Peterson, if the playoffs were still a possibility for us, would have said, hey, we're going to tank the season instead of making the playoffs, then okay, sure, maybe, because then players would have had playoff aspirations. Those aspirations died a week ago. So what are they playing for? For what? For what? There is no next week. They were done.
Jason's right.
It's almost like when 40-man roster, in Major League Baseball at the end of the year, when you're taking out stars and your studs in the final week of the season and just letting a bunch of 40-man roster guys play. Like, everybody knows what the deal is. You might be getting your ass kicked by a couple playoff teams, but like it is what it is. Like, this isn't like anything I think that we don't see every single year. I guess we're just not used to it here. We're seeing it with the Eagles.
Jesse, I agree with you on Smith. I disagree with you on Sartain, though. I know you said you're critical of his speed. You're critical of him being left one-on-one. I mean, Alabama leaves guys one-on-one all day. That's the only. I disagree with you there, but I do not disagree with you at all there. I mean, Smith is an elite NFL route runner, and it's book it. You're like, listen, I love Jerry Jeudy. I like Smith better, right? So, I mean, and these guys know how much I love Jeudy here, right? I mean, Judy's explosive, and he showed it week 17 with a 92-yarder. I mean, like, that's stuff we would die for. A guy just boom out, right? And this didn't have a quarterback throwing the freaking football all year either, because Drew Lock stinks. But regardless. Not that we had one either, because we might not have one either. But you know what I mean. Devontae Smith is the best wide receiver in this draft, and in skill position wise, is hands down the best player in this draft. Now, something about Surtain just draws me, Jesse. I mean, like I watched in a national championship semifinal, a team down a lot of points target him one time. I don't care if whoever Ian Book or whoever the freaking shit quarterback is for Notre Dame. I don't care if he can't throw. He didn't even attempt to throw out his way.
No, we didn't hear from him all game. Like, I was watching it, I'm like, where's Surtain? And I kept thinking, and like there was an interception. They didn't even give him a shot. Like, it was like the old freaking, like, I don't want to compare him to Richard Sherman because I'm not doing that, so don't think I am. But it's like, to your point, Tom, they don't even go to his side of the field. And the thing that's most attractive.
You know how that feels, right? You know what I mean? That's all.
Yeah. And it's the whole thing of the prospect and the chance of having two quote unquote lockdown cornerbacks when for the past handful of years, we really haven't even had one. Like, we can do that in 2 seconds. Having a guy like Slay, who's the veteran, and then you can eventually look at a guy like Surtain that can take his spot, but also Surtain, who's coming in and he's not a project. And everyone's saying, oh, we want a receiver. I'll take a receiver. I won't be mad. But we also have to remember one thing. Cornerbacks this day and age, especially with the Eagles, when you talk about development, there's a very small sample size. Because like we've talked about every offseason the past 3 years, we've had a lot of just stuff, and none of them have developed under our system. Surtain's somebody, to me, that doesn't need to develop a whole hell of a lot more compared to the guys we already have on roster. He looks like somebody who shows up and he's ready to go. He's not somebody that's a long-term project. So I don't see a reason. I just don't see a reason to go away from that guy, especially knowing that you can have two guys that know how to play the position very, very well. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that's an issue. I know, I think Don was asking Jake. He said, Jake, you're the LSU guy. Who was better, Jefferson or Jamar Chase at LSU?
See, if you're talking about 2019, Jamar Chase was better. I think he has more of an upside. Obviously, he's more familiar with playing on the outside compared to Justin Jefferson, who mainly played in the slot during their championship run. But again, people crucified Justin Jefferson saying he couldn't play outside. He could play outside because he played outside in college. But I think as far as a skill set, he's better than Justin Jefferson.
Gotcha.
Now, how about this though? I watched Surtain on some video. You get kind of excited when you chance to draft this guy and you want to go watch him. I saw him shut down Justin Jefferson a couple different times in some highlight packages. So I'm not worried about the speed that whatever his name was talking about earlier about whether or not he can cover NFL wide receivers. If you're locking down Justin Jefferson, who is a damn good NFL wide receiver, I'm not worried about your ability to cover at the NFL.
Just like people told me Justin Jefferson wasn't fast. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you take that for what it is. I respect everybody's opinions on stuff, but I can't with Surtain if people say he's not good enough. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl level shutdown Iowa type corner. But listen, I mean, a lot of that depends on how much you want to work, too. So I mean, what are you planning on doing at the next level? That was so weird though. Everything just started spinning and you guys were gone. So good to be back. Now I'm gonna go piss because that was weird.
Got 4 minutes.
Sand says, don't sleep on J.C. Horn corner from SCU. Like, listen, with all due respect,
I'm tired of sleeping. You understand? I'm tired of sleeping.
With all due respect to Mr. Horn, like when I know today, and especially when one of them's in the national championship game next Monday, that there's two guys I know for a fact that are better than him today, and J.C. Horn is projected to go 29th in the draft.
Is that
good? I'm good with the sleepers. I'm not doing the sleepers.
Every time we take a sleeper, they never wake the fuck up. None of the sleepers that we've taken at any point over the past couple of years, they're yet to wake the fuck up. I don't need this. I don't need any more of them.
Is that Joe Horn's kid?
I'm not sure.
I'm just hoping there's a pedigree here. Please tell me there's a pedigree.
I'll go first and second round corners. Don't tempt me with a good time. I'll go first and second round corners. I did it with Lito and Sheldon. I'll freaking do it again.
Yeah, his dad is Joe Horn.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Hey, if he slides into the second round and he's there when we pick there, yes. Then I can take him there. Give me back-to-back corners. Hey, fuck it. I don't give a fuck. But yeah, we're talking about the sixth overall pick.
And Bryce, we're not saying Horn can't play, but I mean, come on, are we going J.C. Horn with the 6th pick? We're talking about 6th pick.
No, I would be okay if they took Devontae Smith and they traded back up in the first round and got Horn.
Yeah. Fine, cool. We're great. Yes.
That's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do it different ways for me. You know what I mean? Because Devontae Smith is a pimp. I just tired of going back to the well. I mean, that's just my thought. Like, how many times are you going to go back to it? Jesus, God. You look like the Raiders.
That would be the thing I would hate is, like, if I'm going to take a receiver, to be honest, I'd rather take Smith or Chase at 6 because the last thing I want to do is us take, like, Surtain there at 6 and then we're taking another receiver round 2 or round 3 or something. Another guy that can't play that we have to trust that Howie scouted and hit on. Well, we all know he can't scout and hit on anybody, and it's just another body that is just that. Oh, there's a guy. He could be a decent player. Great. I still doesn't do anything for me. Like, we need playmakers out there. So I don't know. I guess if I'm going to take a receiver, I'd rather take the guy I know is going to be the pimp, and then I'll worry about defensive back later on. But
exactly, like Zach, you're spot on. And like I said, and Bryce was saying, like, yeah, he's good, but not for the 6th pick. And like we're saying, like, the reason why for the past handful of weeks we've been talking about getting the best pick possible is so you don't have to reach on somebody. It's that the better chance that you have a better pick is that maybe somebody who's the 3rd best player in the draft falls to you at 6. We don't need to be the team that goes out and says, hey, well, there's 2 surefire guys, but we're going to take the guy who's not supposed to be taken for 20 picks until later in the 1st round or 2nd round. We've done that enough. Take the guy that is going to be a day 1 option because you don't get that every day. You just don't.
The 2 defensive backs, the last 2 defensive backs taking that high were what? Jalen Ramsey and Denzel Ward, and both of them have turned out to be pretty impactful players for their football teams. It's that position can alter the course of your franchise. I mean, it's enough of an impact position on your football team. It sets you up there for the better part of a decade. It's worth it. I mean, remember we talked about it when the Cowboys drafted Ezekiel Elliott ahead of Ramsey, how like long term, watch how much they're going to regret that sort of thing. And it looks like they're starting to regret that a little bit. Elliott having, a down year, slowing down a little bit, and Ramsey still playing at a really high level. So I'm not going to complain about taking a corner, even if it is, say somebody else takes Smith or Chase and they go on to have good careers. I'm not complaining about taking the corner that's locking down one side of the field for the next, better part of a decade.
True.
It's what we haven't had here in 20 years.
Levi says, what happens if Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon, somehow falls to us? I think we should take him. And it's tough because you look around, and I think we've all agreed with this, and we've said it, that, just on paper, you look at the guys who are already on, in this organization with Brooks coming back, Lane coming back, Dillard coming back, and even if he sucks, you have a guy like Mailata who I've said numerous times, and I know Tom's also said it, that he's pretty much the second coming of our Vaitai if we're in a perfect situation, but he can also start for us. The only big question mark is if Jason Kelce is really coming back. Do you take him because he is that generational talent that everyone talks about? I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah,
but it's kind of a tough spot because you do know that you are having a 1st-round talent in Dillard that you still have to figure out who he is, Lane, who's still under contract, and Brooks, who's still under contract. So that's why it's kind of tough. You know what I'm saying?
Levi, I'll say this. Penei Sewell's not getting past Cincinnati at 5.
I agree.
So it's kind of all a moot point anyway. Let's be honest. The kid might be gone before then, but if he somehow is slipping to the point, Cincinnati picks right ahead of us, and Joe Burrow nearly got himself killed this year because they had nobody to protect him. He's not getting past there.
Yeah, no way.
I don't see how he gets past the Dolphins at 3.
Yep.
I think the Jets could even take him at 2 realistically and say, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter who we have playing quarterback if we don't have somebody at left tackle to protect him. I think Sewell could go 2, 3. He could go 5. There's no way he's getting to us unless maybe there's a Lammie Tunsil situation or something. But
yeah, true. Jake, do you agree, or would you take him if he was available?
He's the best offensive tackle available, and again, we need lineman help. But again, when you look at Lane Johnson. Obviously, Lane Johnson's older, and the question mark with the Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard situation. I feel like we have more pressing needs. Obviously, offensive line is a need, but I feel like with the players that will be available, I feel like we'd have a better chance at hitting with Surtain or one of the other wide receivers or any other position, just based on the situation that's going on at left tackle, especially for us.
And two, like I said, and I'm not Mr. Draft Guru. Like I don't talk about the draft, in the middle of the season or, even right after the season. But, given the climate of this organization in this season, the reason why I was talking so much about trying to get a top 6 or, for some weeks, even a top 5 pick, because I know that was even realistic going up until this past week. It was very important because I do really believe that the Eagles in this draft, and, we have months on end to talk about it, but, we're in a really good situation because of the projected kind of, and also assumption that the Jets could take a quarterback. The Jags are. Mm-hmm. And there could also be a scenario to where a team from behind us, after the 6th pick, could trade up with, let's say, the Dolphins or even Cincinnati, or the Falcons to try and also get a quarterback.
So there's a lot of mock drafts having the Falcons taking Wilson from BYU. So
and that's who I was talking to Ralph and Frank last night, and I completely agree. I could actually really see them going Wilson and kind of putting him on ice for a year to eventually replace Matt Ryan. So I think that's really likely. But also, you look at it. Okay, somebody said, Sam, said it right on the screen. He said corner or wideout should be the only option. Okay, so if that's the notion. We know the first pick is not going to be a receiver or a corner. We're fairly confident that the Jets aren't taking a receiver or a corner. The 3rd pick is not going to be a receiver or a corner. The Falcons aren't taking a receiver.
The Dolphins.
What was that, Zach?
The Dolphins could I think the Dolphins could realistically take a receiver. I think the Dolphins could take Smith because they like the idea of he played with Tua. They have another guy outside of Devontae Parker that they really like as a playmaker. I could see them really being money for a receiver. They already have a great defensive secondary, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be in on Surtain too. But I they're the one team I think ahead of us I look at and say, if anybody was taking a receiver, it's them.
I do agree. The only reason why I'm not there yet with them is that I believe, even though I don't believe the one player I'm going to mention is worthy of a top 5 pick, I believe they would go Parsons because of their need at linebacker, or offensive line because we know that they need offensive line help, or even defensive line. I think that they would rather go with those because they're more pressing needs, aside from, while I think it's very important to build alongside of a guy like Parker, you still have Parker there. So it's like, hey, at the end of the day, at least we have one guy who's very good. You know what I mean? So that's why I look at other positions instead of them. And then you go right to the Falcons and the Bengals. Both of them, they don't need receivers. And Ralph was telling me last night, oh, well, what if Julio's gone? You still have Ridley. You're not going to – like maybe the Falcons –
Falcons, if they were going to get out of Matt Ryan, I would think it's because they've got a quarterback pinpointed that they want to take. I don't think you're trading Matt Ryan to play like your backup or to go sign Andy Dalton. Like you're getting out of the Matt Ryan contract because you've circled somebody that you like. Oh, here's our new young quarterback that we're going to move on with. Other than that, I think they just stay with him and say, okay, we'll ride with you.
Marquise brings up a good point. He says Miami would take Devontae Smith because he has chemistry with Tua.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. No, that's fair. So then you look at the situation. There's really not a scenario unless something crazy happens to where, I would say the most popular names in this chat and on this show have been Chase, Smith, and Surtain. One of them's going to be there at 6, if not all.
One of them has to be there. I mean, it's so much. It's like I said, like you could literally put those 3 names in a hat and say, okay, like, if they're all there, I'm just picking one out of a hat. If only one of them's there, then I have an easy decision. I know which one I'm taking, but like you can't fuck it up. Mm-hmm. Like if one of them has to be available for you there, it's almost like fuck Howie. Like I don't trust Howie either, but I find this situation to be like you're going to hit a home run no matter who you're going with here. Even if they were like, oh shit, they took Parsons and we didn't want him to do that. Like even he's probably going to be a really good player,
and like we're not happy with it over Surtain or somebody like that. Say they took Farley, same thing. We're like, oh shit, I'd rather have Surtain, but even Farley's probably going to be a good player. Like there's so many options you have there at 6. It's almost impossible to fuck it up.
True. And I know going back to kind of like who stays and who goes, because I know we'll have a ton of time to talk about the draft. Somebody was asking us earlier, which combination has a better chance to stay here? And they said Wentz and Ertz versus Hurts and Goddard. I think it's easy. I think there's a better chance of the duel of Hurts and Goddard staying here.
Yeah.
I think we're both looking at it on the surface to where it seems right now that both Wentz and Ertz are probably going to be gone. Not just a chance. It looks like they're both probably out. Do you agree, Zach?
Well, yeah. I mean, we already said that earlier. I mean, I don't want to piss Tommy off any more than we already have. It's Tommy's up there pulling what's left of his hair out, which isn't much. So but yeah, I mean, listen, I don't listen, and I've been on the record forever. I don't want it to happen, but if I'm connecting the dots and just looking at the writing on the wall, and I even made a Facebook post, and it's one of those things. I'm not convinced that Doug Peterson's back. Like, I still think there could be something fishy with the meeting tomorrow with Lurie, where like if Lurie's like, okay, you're gonna have to give up offensive play calling. You're going to have to give up control of the offense. Doug says, to hell with you, and he just resigns. Like, I'm not like, you can't convince me of anything until it happens right now. Like, that's really where I'm at with this football team. All of these reports, I think we've seen so much shit over the past couple years where what reports are BS and what reports are real and all this nonsense that I'm not believing any of it until it's a done deal. Like, until I see Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman both back in their roles next year as the season starts, I'm not believing any of it.
Yeah, and you're right. And I go back to this press conference from this morning, and granted, it was absolutely embarrassing from both of them, even though Howie did most of the talking. But, the one thing I will defend Doug Peterson with, not Howie because he's an idiot, but I will defend Doug with, is that, for everyone saying both last night and this morning, he didn't go out of his way to say, Carson Wentz is my quarterback, or even to say Carson Wentz is going to be on this team in 2021. Well, I want to say, first off, what do you expect him to say? And even if he said that, this time last year, literally one calendar year ago, Doug Peterson said the words, Mike Groh is going to be my offensive coordinator, and 24 hours later, he was gone.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting at with the Lurie meeting, is that we've seen this play out before, right, Ryan? And not that long ago.
Yep.
We also heard Chip Kelly say, or we also heard, a week before the 2015 season ended, that Chip Kelly was still going to be our head coach, for 2016, and that changed within 72 hours or whatever the situation was. So we've seen it all play out. I guess maybe in this situation, it might be a little bit more of like wishful thinking on my part, because I want Howie gone so bad, like I'm convinced there's still a way for that to happen, sort of thing, or or whatever, but. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, like the Schefter report said he's back, so he's back. Don't play me for an idiot. We've seen this play out too many times differently.
Until it is set in stone to where the team's website, or maybe even Jeffrey Lurie, if he shows his face in the next month, says for a fact that these players and or coaches or even GM are going to be here 100% in 2021, I'm not believing a damn thing.
Yeah,
because when it came at, we've seen twice. I mean, we've seen 100 times, but just two big examples of why we should never take anything at face value, even when it's being mouthed by the coach and the organization. Last season, in the middle of the year, Doug Peterson said, pertaining to Deshaun Jackson, in the middle of the year before the Bears game, that Deshaun Jackson would not miss any time and he would be back next week. Not even an hour later, you get the report that Deshaun Jackson has been lost for the rest of the year.
Yep.
That is a fact. Then, literally 2 months later, like we've talked about a couple minutes ago, Doug Peterson says, my offensive staff is returning. Mike Groh will be my offensive coordinator. 48 hours later, they are fired. I am not taking anything for value until they show me, and I see their faces on the sideline in week 1. Because we can at this point. Mm-hmm. And because at the end of the day, as much as we don't know the answers, they don't. And I think that's the kind of the space we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it doesn't happen this week, it's not happening.
Well, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. We're going to learn a lot relatively quickly after tomorrow's meeting. Yes, within the next 48 hours after that, I think we'll have.
But it's definitely not going to play out. It's not going to be a long process. If they were to move on, they're not going to decide that.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
They're going to decide that right away. So I mean, it seems like they did, but they said a lot of things last year, and it didn't come to fruition. But I do think that meeting has a lot to do with an offensive coordinator, and I think that meeting has to do with how can they fix what's happened here, not only with the quarterback that the owner invested in, but everybody.
And Philly Matt, I don't know if you're talking to us or to the chat, but he says you guys were sold on Hurts after one game, but give up on Wentz after one bad season. I don't think anyone with a straight face can say that they are sold on Jalen Hurts at all. If anyone's saying, in any format that, Jalen Hurts is absolutely our future, I think we're getting lost here. Listen, in a perfect world, I hope that one of these guys is our future, but we can never say with a straight face that either of these guys are our future. So I guess you're talking to, people in the chat, but no, I mean, we haven't given up on Wentz, and we certainly haven't solely said, hey, this is Jalen Hurts' football team. Because if Tom and I've been saying, we've all been saying, hey, the best thing for this organization is to keep both, that should tell you all it is. It's that we don't know who they are right now. So you might as well keep both. That way you have a 50% chance of finding one of them.
Yeah, and then sometimes when you have two, you have none. So, I mean, there's always ways to look at it. I get it.
And what do you make of Howie saying he his QB factory? He was like, what? I was like, whoa, when I read that. Howie's admitting that he's wrong about something here. I was like, I didn't know what to make of it at first, but it seems like he's showing a lot of maybe I shouldn't have said that at the time. I really made this situation a lot worse than it needed to be. But that was a little weird to me today.
A lot of crow eating.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of we should have did this better. We should have did that better. Some excuses built in.
Do you think he regrets the Hurts pick?
No. No, I think honestly, I think as far as it goes with that quarterback factory comment from today and him reflecting on it, in the moment when he said that, I looked at it, well, this guy's just trying to be freaking funny. He's trying to be snarky and the smartest guy in the room type thing, to where I think the only thing he regrets is saying quarterback factory, because it kind of got away from him, and it was kind of it was equivalent to when friggin' Middleton and McPhail talk about stupid money. It was the same thing. They regret saying that because now they have to be forced into always going back to those, to that phrase and when they said it. But now, I don't think he regrets drafting Jalen Hurts. I don't think he regrets anything because he thinks he was right. There's no accountability in this organization. That's why they got into this situation.
He's not going to say anything if one of the two had a great year. So he doesn't even come out and speak about that. He answer them questions because they don't have an answer on who the quarterback is. So, neither is played at a high level where that question is not going to get asked to him. If one of them played at a high level, he wouldn't be taking his words back. You know what I mean? Or thinking he could have said something different. It's why I don't listen to this shit, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, the only thing, he admitted some mistakes. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, it doesn't.
Well, not what they do. It's just that's Howie never does that. He must really be putting some serious thought into this whole fucking thing for him to even come close to taking blame on anything. Because he's the guy that makes everybody else take blame.
I think he's smart enough to know when your record is what it is, that there's no running from failure.
Well, he said he's a good drafter. So, I mean, I still think he lives in a world of delusion, because he said he's good at drafting. So, I mean,
well, he made the build.
He can admit that.
He had to build an excuse that some players take a minute. I mean, he had to build an excuse ready.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what he said. That's why I don't listen to it. He had to build an excuse ready. He brought Brandon Graham. He brought, yeah. You know what I mean? So he already was ready for it.
Did he even draft Brandon Graham? Tom? Did he even draft him, or was that Andy?
I think that was Andy.
Andy. But he was here, so he obviously, puts his stamp on it because he was part of the organization.
He's probably in the damn shoe closet.
Yeah, I did see that, Jason. That was weird too. He said Carson. Carson's like a finger on my hand. I couldn't see a future without him. Like, that's just fucking weird. First of all,
it was the most embarrassing moment of the press conference. Zach.
It really was.
That was his response to when someone asked how they feel about Carson Wentz now, and all they could talk about is what they did 3-4 years ago. That doesn't answer the damn question. Like what you did, giving him that contract or trading up to get him in the first round back in 2016, like that doesn't tell us what you feel about him now. Like, do you think everybody who drafted somebody in 2016 in any team in any position feels the same way about that player now? No. God, no. Do you think freaking John Fox on the Bears who drafted Trubisky in 2017 still feels the same about Trubisky now? No, he got him fired. So what are you talking about? Oh, it's going to feel weird not having him. Well, you're the same guy when you want to talk about, hey, we gave him an extension. We trade up to get him. We also picked his replacement in the second round. So you've got to tell us that shows us that you feel differently about the guy compared to when you traded up for him 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different world.
It's just a weird comment. Like, it's such a weird, like, what? Like, I've never heard that analogy before. It's so fucking stupid.
For the stupid fingers. I mean, I'm like I've said to you guys, I don't think it was, I truly believe it was just an investment on Wentz that they could still win football games if he went out. And I think that's exactly how they thought about it. They thought internally that this roster was good enough as is, that they could take a quarterback there, that they were better than everybody else in their division, and they can take a quarterback there and have protection for Carson, right? And protection for this football team if he got hurt. And that's all it was meant to be, because they thought that they had a good enough roster. It's as simple as that. They thought their roster was good enough anyway. They didn't think they needed another running back. They didn't think they needed things that we knew they needed in the second round. They thought that that's what they needed because, if they had anybody but an injured Josh McCown last year, they probably would have won a playoff game. Yep. And then if they win playoff games, they keep their jobs longer. I mean, this is just how this business works. So they're looking at it like right now. As much as I don't necessarily believe that they were looking at Jalen Hurts as a future starter, I think they mostly looked at him. That's how bad this organization is. It's like, okay, that's our protection for Carson for the next 3 years if he gets hurt. Like, you know what I mean? Like that protects our investment. I'm not saying that's the right decision. I'm just telling you how fickle organizations work, and what we've seen too. Like, we've seen the quarterback, get hurt, not his fault, in the last game they played last year. That's the last moment. So it's a weird pick in the spot. I get it. I'm just telling you how I think they think about it. I'm not saying that's right. That's just how I think that they look at it organizationally, that they had a good enough roster as is, just like we thought they did. So we can't run from the shit either, because even though we knew they had holes, most of us still had 9, 10, 11 wins. And they got burnt.
Fair. Sure. But if we're being fair, I mean, there was plenty of conversation when the pick happened. We all sat here, and enough of us said, "Hey, this has the potential to also get ugly and like really blow up and turn into something ugly." Well, it's blown up and turned into something ugly. So doesn't that fall on Howie too? Since he was the one that kind of made this decision, it could be really good. It could be really bad. It's really bad. So who gets the blame there?
It falls on everybody. It falls on him, but of course, I mean, it falls on everybody. Like I said, it falls on the guy that led the league in turnovers. I mean, it falls on everybody. It falls on everybody's feet when you win 4 games in this league. It doesn't become there's a lot of reasons you get the 4 wins. That's why we did so many shows talking about a bunch of different shit.
Could have had J.K. Dobbins there. I mean, you want to talk about helping the football team? I mean, like, what was like? There's plenty. I mean, we could have sat here and said we thought we were a good football team, and we did. But I don't think any of us thought we were enough football team to take a quarterback in the second round. I mean, there were so many guys there that we were like, hey, if we could take that guy, it really helps this team. It fills a whole type of thing. So
I'm not changing my stance on it. So don't get Nobody get that misguided. Like, that's not my stance on it, on what I would do. I'm just telling you what they thought. They think they're better than everybody else.
Okay.
Well, that's part of the reason they failed.
They think they're the smartest people in the room, so sure, yeah.
It's part of the reason they failed and where they're at right now. It's because they do shit like this. It's because they reach for stuff. They try to get cute with stuff. Right? Same reason why, you told me on draft night, Tom, I told you they like the guy in Reagor. And I wasn't happy about it because I don't care what they like. You know what I mean? That's why I wasn't happy about it. I don't give a rat's ass what they like because what they like hasn't been right.
I didn't care what they liked either. I was just saying I like Jefferson too. Like, I would have been happy with either one of them. Obviously, at this point, I'd much rather have Jefferson, but I wasn't just going to hate on the pick just because. I was like, I want anybody that I felt like can step in and be an impact player for it. We could have taken Queen. We could have taken Patrick Murray. We could have taken Jefferson, Reagor. There was picks there where it was like, hey, a lot of those guys I feel like can step in and help this team. It is what it is. And hopefully at 6, we're in a position, same thing. There's multiple guys on the board where you're like, we can't go wrong. You take any of them. And at least this year, it seems like
if you don't
3 or 4 of them are going to be studs. So
miss on your first round,
have some choices.
If you don't miss on your first round pick, that allows that second round pick to be a reach. Make sense? Like, if you hit your first, then you can reach in the second. You can't reach in the first and the second. You know what I mean? And then the third too. Then you triple dicked it, right? Go back to the first. Triple dick. So I mean, what else do you say about it? I mean, all 3 guys are reaches in the spots they were drafted at.
Sure.
And the funny thing, the third round pick's the biggest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like we don't even talk about him. I forget half the time he's even there. Like, that's the craziest thing. And not only does it hurt reaching on your first 3 picks, not only does it hurt last year, it hurts this draft because if you don't reach in your first pick, you're probably not talking about getting a receiver right now. If you don't reach on your third pick, you're not thinking about getting Parsons in the first round or second round, or not Parsons in the second round, but a linebacker in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if you just did, if you just drafted a couple guys we wanted, if you just drafted a Jefferson and you drafted a Chin, I mean, you're when we talk about the young talent on this roster, we're a lot more excited about it. Right? And now this draft, you can go in and say,
then add in Surtain this year when you had Chin or somebody like that at safety.
Then you can go Parsons if you want to. Like, then you can. Then you can say, this is the best talent right here. We're just going to take him.
Then you can afford to get quote unquote cute. You know what I'm saying? Then you could try taking the flashy thing, but you can't even do that.
No, because everything's cute. And this has been my knock on Howie Roseman for years. Not free agency, not other things. This. I still think he does a good job of free agency. He brings in players who can play. Brooks, Slay. I mean, it's not like Rodney. He brings in guys who can play. I mean, I'm never going to doubt that. I'm going to doubt that he doesn't know how to assess talent before the league, before you get to the league. That's the issue. And I'm not even saying assess talent. I'm just saying every pick he makes, I feel like is around too soon. And if you look back at it, Jalen Reagor is around too soon. Just like I said he was.
Literally,
but we do the fucking pro days. This is what happens. We get pro date up and guys jump. No. What'd you do on the fucking football field? Guy caught 100 passes and he goes after you. I'm fine with Jerry Jeudy going over Jefferson. I'm fine with CeeDee Lamb going over Jefferson. I am not fine with Jalen Reagor going above any of them. And I stood by it that night and I stand by it today. I don't even know who the fuck he was. All right, if I don't know who somebody is in college football, I don't want him. The fact that he was even talked about so much was mind-boggling. I never even heard of him. And that's bad because I watched a ton of college football.
And if you would have reached on any other guy taken in the first 2 rounds at wide receiver, we would have still have been in a better situation.
Yeah. You take Claypool, who I knew. You take who you know. I mean, the list goes on.
If they would have taken any of these guys, Ayuk, Higgins, Pittman, Shenault, even friggin' Hamler, who I don't even think is that good, but he's better than Reagor right now, Claypool, Van Jefferson, and maybe Denzel Mims if he would have stayed healthy. If you would have taken any of them, they're in a better situation.
Chenault's got hands like freaking, I mean, it's like Velcro, Shenault.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys. And I got a guy who can't go up and catch a football last night. Again.
And you can't get, and he can't stay healthy either.
No. Now this is 3 times. 3 times. Welcome. Welcome to freaking joke. It's a joke, and this is why we're at where we're at. All right, you go back to the year prior, right? What was the year prior? Dillard?
Dillard.
The year prior, they took J. Jaw over DK, and we were all kind of sitting there like, why the fuck? Like DK Metcalf's still on the board in the second round, and you're taking Umbrella Boy? Like, are we kidding me right now? Like, this is just that was an even crazier one because you're in the second round at that point, and you just kind of look at DK Metcalf and you're like, this dude's such a freak of nature. How are you drafting JJ Ortega-Whiteside or anybody over this guy? He fell into your lap, and you like just like just let it move on. It's unreal. And then to think that we could have had DK and you could have paired that up with what you had this year, the ability to have two studs already on the outside, and we're not even worried about the receiver position. But
this is why I hate the NFL, Andrew, because this is what teams do. They think, oh, well, we'll get you in our system, and you'll surpass anything you did at the college level. It's a freaking joke, okay? How about you give me the guy with the 100 catches? Because I know he can do it. I seen him do it. I watched him do it.
And national championship.
I mean, you can wash national championship out of there. I mean, you just seen him do it all freaking year at a high level in a badass conference. So we're going to have 1,000 yards, and then everybody on draft day blamed it on his quarterback. Dude, if I'm that open, I just make plays. Like if I'm that open, I just make plays.
It's like the people trying to talk about Devontae Smith and how he's too tiny and his lower half and yada, yada, yada. You're like, this dude's dominating SEC competition on a weekly basis, and I'm supposed to be worried about the fact that he's too small or his legs. If you dominate SEC, we learned this last year, right? We made that mistake once. I don't give a fuck. The dude's dominating SEC competition. He can play. We know he can play. Surtain, he's too small. He's not athletic enough. If you're fucking good enough to start at Alabama as a true freshman, as an outside corner, and play a full season, I'm not worried about your athleticism, if you can cover people. Bullshit. It's overthinking it. You're trying to overthink it and come up with reasons, like that aren't there. They just don't exist. Stop fucking overthinking it and just pull the trigger for once on what is a smart pick.
Yep. And they don't even throw to his side. They don't even throw to Surtain's side. And we know this for a fact. Like, college quarterbacks can't wait to throw the freaking ball into coverage or throw an interception. That's all they do. And they don't even try it when that guy's on that side of the field. They're like, oh, we see him. Nope, well, let's go over here. Like that's literally all they do. So you can tell me that guy's not going to translate? And meanwhile, we have guys on our friggin' timelines, Tom, we talk about it all the time, friggin' defending Rager like he's some friggin' like he's worthy of it. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. You make him friggin' 5-paragraph posts in the middle of games after he drops a pass. Talk about friggin' separation. I don't care if you're wide open. If you can't catch the ball, you stink.
He was wide open. And then Jalen Hurts underthrew the pass. And then guess what? You didn't catch the pass at the point of contact, at the high point of your jump when you had two hands on the ball and were coming down with it. And you let somebody take it away from you. A number one receiver catches that football. So I don't know what I'm supposed to... No, there's no defending that. I get it was a bad ball. Still fucking catch it.
But Zach, the quarterback has to put it exactly where he needs to catch it. And, we can't ask a first-round talent or just an NFL receiver to make an adjustment when catching the ball because he's a rookie, Zach. We can't frig out of here. It's ridiculous. So many people try to tell me, he had to make an adjustment. He had to make an adjustment. Stop it. You make a friggin' adjustment. Turn off the...
That's called playing receiver at the NFL level, making an adjustment.
Yeah. And Seth Joyner killed him last night. He absolutely killed him last night.
Mm-hmm. So he doesn't believe that he doesn't believe he likes the game. I see that too, Seth. I see it too.
There's Jesse, Tommy. You agree with that? No Pac-12, no Big 12 guys, right? You want to stay away from the Pac-12, Big 12 guys.
Yeah, I know exactly where I'm going. And my decisions are easy, especially with the 6th pick overall. Mm-hmm. Simple process. But I see a lot of people saying that they're going to mess it up, and they very well could.
We've got 4 months to kind of brace for impact then.
Howie could very possibly fuck it up. I mean,
he absolutely could.
100% possible.
Yep. Oh,
either he trades the pick away, which wouldn't shock me either, or he picks someone that none of us expected, a la probably a quarterback.
Or tight ends. People were trying to say on my timeline this morning.
Yeah.
If you trade back to 15, you can get an additional second and take that guy Pitts from the tight end from college. I'm like, Oh, there you go. Here, this guy said it. Don't take Kyle Pitts. Who?
No,
Why do I need a tight end? We're trying to run one of our tight ends out of the building, but we're going to draft a tight end. Enough. I can't.
Bill, what's the problem, Bill? I mean,
Bill Clinton.
problem besides the blowjob. Because I mean, what does it matter, rookie quarterback or not? I mean, anybody playing with them weapons is going to struggle. So the other quarterback didn't get the benefit of the doubt of getting his ass kicked all year. So, so now I'm gonna,
offensive line.
now I'm going to give this guy all the passes in the world.
I agree there 100%, Tommy. Neither one of them is going to get a free pass. They're both going to get ripped the same, and
yeah,
just the way it's got to be.
When we wanted to talk about it like every week of the season, that hey guys, it's not just the quarterback, it's the offensive line. Everyone was saying, "Oh, you're providing excuses." It's the same offensive line, guys.
Yep,
it's the same one. So like maybe when we were saying it's not just the quarterback, and we saw Baker Mayfield who just took his team to the playoffs. They went through the same thing last year with the Browns, except for ours was 10 times worse. And you see, once they get a little bit of a semblance of an offensive line this year, they make the playoffs. How about that? Maybe offensive line's kind of important, right? But no, we're supplying excuses for Wentz, but then we should also not apply those same things to her. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
Does the rookie?
I just disagree. Like, I mean, he can grow. He can grow how? Arm strength?
Yeah. Nope.
Taller? Growth spurt? You fucking tell me. If you come in defending him like he's paying your rent. All right, so you tell me then. I'm sick of this shit. You tell me. 7 for 20 in an NFL game. Grow the fuck up if you think you can grow. Grow. What are we talking about?
Stewart last night.
Gadget toy too.
I said
one underthrowing.
I said Tyrod Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gadget City. And you saw
it's terrible.
Your first round pick running the route. Second round pick. Underthrows.
They drop passes for Hurts only, right? Even though Alshon Jeffery, he couldn't wait to get away from a football, right? Oh, my God. Miles Sanders didn't drop a ton of footballs, right? Jalen Reagor. John freaking Hightower, who's my son. He can't wait to drop a football. Oh, but we're going to talk about the drop passes.
This rookie quarterback point conversation thing kind of drives me crazy too, because I feel like when you look around the league, rookie quarterbacks step in and have success right away if they're any fucking good in this league. Like this idea that rookie quarterbacks need some time to develop. Like where? Like when? Is this still like 1997? Like it's not like the idea that a rookie quarterback, he's only had 4 games. Like dudes are killing it by their 4th game in the league. Like I don't need to sit here and hear this idea that we need to give them time to develop. How much time? That's not the way the league works anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm already on the fence about whether or not the kid's even good enough to play in the league going forward. Like, I don't know if he's a starter. I don't want to give up on him quite yet, but from what I've seen, I'm leaning. If I had to pick a side right now, I'm leaning towards he's not going to be a starting quarterback or a successful starting quarterback at this level.
The same people, the same exact people that want to talk about how he's Russell friggin' Wilson. Okay, so let's apply that since everyone wants to come in our chats and say he's Russell Wilson, guys. It's the same thing. Or even Kyler Murray, but taller. Okay. Would we expect those guys? Are we going to ease them along? No, we're not. We see Justin Herbert. Awesome with an idiotic head coach and a bunch of injuries. Does he need time to develop? No, he's awesome. He just broke the Mahomes record. We look at Burrow. Horrible offensive line.
Yep.
Look pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. And if people say, oh, that's a first round pick compared to a second round pick, it doesn't friggin' matter. Enough. The same people that want to talk about Russell Wilson and friggin' Kyler Murray are the same people when he doesn't do well, goes 7 for 20 with 72 total passing yards against a division rival who stinks. I don't want to hear that the Washington football team's all of a sudden good.
There's a reason them two went where they went. I mean, I mean, just like people took Tua where they took him. Just like Miami took Tua where they took him. I mean, these guys were valued higher. That's another reason. Like, they're valued higher, so they should have success, and Tua hasn't. But the other two did have early success, right? Hurts has success in what he does well, which is running around. But the concerns on why he wasn't a first round pick is throwing the football. So I mean, these guys are first round picks for a reason, because they believe that they can throw at an NFL level. When you start talking about second, third, fourth, fifths, right? When you start getting out of the first round, it changes. There's a reason you're a second round pick. That doesn't mean you can't prove people wrong and be the best of all of them. It happens, but there's usually a reason behind it. And that's the problem. And that's why, that's why them guys will have more success. But he did have success running around, and that's what he did well. So you know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. If he threw great in college, he would have been a first round pick. He would have been late first, like Lamar. Right? So I mean,
he also wouldn't have been benched at halftime in a national title game.
So,
for a guy who can't run either.
Yep.
For a guy that also seems to struggle, throwing the ball down the field.
A bunch of people I've seen in this chat say, "Oh, Tua stinks. Tua stinks. Tua stinks." Okay, well, Tua came in because Hurts was benched for Tua. So what are we? It's the same thing. I just don't understand it. I don't.
Listen, the idea, you can win with a guy at the quarterback position that has Hurts' skill set if you can successfully throw the ball down the field. He does not. It's so all over the place when he's got to throw the ball down the field, especially in the middle of the field anywhere. Like, it's just all over the place. There's just zero consistency with anything. And there's been some ugly interceptions in the process. He doesn't seem to see the field very well down there, which is something you would think after playing at Alabama and Oklahoma and all that. Like, that shouldn't be an issue, right? Like, there's things that aren't easily correctable. Like, you either have it or you don't. And I don't see it right now from him. And, I think his legs are dynamic. I think it adds something that we don't have. And, his legs obviously are more of a game breaker than maybe I gave it credit for initially. But if you can't match it up with your arm, it doesn't mean nothing. We've seen that flake out every single time. Every single time there's been a quarterback that's had that type of combination with the electric legs. If the arm hasn't been there to match up with it and doesn't catch up to it, they flake out and they're out of the league a lot quicker. It's Colin Kaepernick was out of the league how quick, right? Cordell Stewart didn't last at the quarterback position very long, right? Tyrod Taylor was a starter for a year and a half before they're like, yeah, same thing, can't throw. Like,
real quick, right? Like, I mean, the Ravens this week, the Tennessee beat them again. Is it another one and done for the Ravens? We'll talk about, we'll find out. But it just goes to show you got to be able to throw the ball. And at least he's got a cannon where he can throw it deep. Donovan, thanks for the brother. He says, okay, guys, when Carson Wentz is gone, we're going to be bad for 3 years because Jalen Hurts sucks, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You nailed it.
What was you said you had some questions? What were they, brother? Obviously Sixers game's underway.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back at home, which is new. The NBA is just trying to keep teams from having to travel around too much. But
no, I think Mars was saying that he has, not that he had questions, but when you get to the second round, there's questions on you as a player. Talking about Hurts.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, of course, you drop. You go second, third, fourth. There's reasons you're going there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going first. Most teams don't think there's question marks about you. You know what I mean? Like, I would say most first round picks, teams feel like they're getting the best pick of the first round. Teams usually feel really good about their first round picks. And after that, it becomes.
Listen, the throw that he missed. The throw that he missed.
No. I was done.
The Watkins throw in the end zone where Watkins is wide open. I'm sorry. Okay, I got you. So yeah, the Watkins throw in the end zone that he misses where Watkins is wide open, like that's just a throw that that has nothing to do with development. That has nothing to do with anything. Like that's not a throw you should miss at the NFL level, like ever. Like it seemed like he got spooked or something by like a late blitzer. I don't know what happened. Like the throw was just so awful. You're like, how do you make that bad of a throw to a guy that's that wide open in the end zone? I don't know. It's stuff like that made me cringe. Like if you're making me, like if I watch you play a position and I'm cringing at some of the things you do, it's really hard for me to think you're ever going to figure it out to a point where like you're going to be a good player. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
that's my problem with Rager right now, where it's like, as much as I want to believe he's got upside, there's been some things that just make you shake your head at him and just go, "What the hell was that?" Right?
Yeah, I mean, every NFL quarterback makes that throw. I mean, that's an easy touchdown. So,
Yep.
This is a Cowboys fan in this, in the chat. And he says Wentz is not leaving. He'll be the starter. Hurts is not even close to Wentz. And people have to understand. And someone was saying earlier, like, okay, guys, you don't seem to be sold on Hurts. Oh, here you go. Al Fisher. He says, I assume you guys are not on board with Hurts. Then who then? Carson checked out because he feels the front office is not putting the right cheeks in the seats around him. Well, that's why we keep going back to the same thing on why not both? Because we're not for sure on either of them.
I mean, listen, we're going to find out.
It's going to be interesting.
I just don't think one of them's moved, but we'll see. We'll see how ugly it gets. Could get worse. Could go away. Could get worse next year again. But we're gonna find out. But I mean, this city always loves a backup.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, whoever that backup is. And no, if we take Zach Wilson at 6, I'm completely done with this organization. So wrap that. You can just wrap that up for me. Officially done. Officially done with the organization if they decide to circle back. If they circle back on that position, that's makes them even more untrustworthy than they are.
Yep.
Because I don't trust this organization at all right now.
No, how can you?
Oh, you'd be foolish if you did.
Right. Especially with them bringing Howie back. I don't know how you can trust anything this organization does.
Nothing's going to change until, again, it's the Phillies. It's the same thing with the Phillies. When we were talking about nothing will change unless you got rid of McPhail and Clintack. I'm going to keep saying it. Nothing's going to change, at least to the level that we want, until Howie Roseman is gone. I would say the same thing with Jeffrey Lurie, but he's the owner. You can't fire the owner.
No, which is good.
The one problem with that comparison is the fact that Middleton pulled the trigger and actually made the move to fire McPhail, fire Clintack, whereas Lurie seems to be the enabler here, keeping Howie in a position that he's clearly not good at. But we have the same conversation every offseason. Lurie seems to disagree, and he thinks the guy's good at his job, and he trusts the guy.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody anymore. What's that heavy saying?
And
everybody saying
every single year.
I don't know.
That's cutting out. And now he's out. I don't know where he left. He's still there. Everybody say draft him. No, I'm gonna draft Jalen Hurts and Rager. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
What does this mean? I don't even know what this means.
Here we go.
How about Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers? Idiot.
That's not even what it's about. People want to just push their agenda. It's ridiculous.
If Wentz demands a trade, I think we should restart. Yeah, I mean, you would have to restart that.
He says draft Fields.
No. I want nothing to do with an Ohio State quarterback.
Trade Wentz and Hurts for first. So we're going to get a first for Wentz and a first for Hurts?
How are you getting a first for Hurts?
Yeah, no.
Let alone a first for Wentz.
You're not even getting a second for Hurts right now.
Smoking.
You're not even getting. You're not. And if people think we're getting a second rounder for Hurts, you're nuts.
Yeah, no shot.
I mean, you might be able to get up to 4 with your 6th pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be able to entice like Atlanta to take them and move up 2 spots, but that's like, you know what I mean? You're not going to get first for him though. Like if you trade your first in him, you can move up a few spots, sure. You know, to a team that's looking for a quarterback that maybe believes in him. You know what I mean?
And even if we trusted Ohio State quarterbacks, he's not getting past the second pick. Either the Jets are taking him or they're going to trade out of it. And a team that's trying to get Fields or top pick, like he's not getting us. Like everyone, like Fields is out of it. Like if at least people that are saying Zach Wilson, like that's somebody who actually has somewhat of a realistic chance to be there. And I'm not even taking him. I'm not taking a quarterback. Like I don't understand why people want to go through this again.
He just said, I mean, we could immediately rebuild the franchise. How? What are you talking about? Immediately rebuild the franchise. I don't like. We got so many fucking holes, but the quarterback. This is so many.
If we drafted well the last 3 years, that the franchise would be still running nice.
I don't understand.
Simple as that. I mean, we were supposed to draft well, and we have not. And that's why that's why we had 4 wins this year.
Yep.
All right. If you don't draft well, this is what you become. As simple as that. No matter how many free agents you sign, no matter how much stuff you do.
So we're just
impact.
we're just kind of saying, okay, well then it is what it is because Howie's still here and none of us trust Howie and we know more times than not he's going to miss on picks. So how many more years do we have to go through this before Jeffrey Lurie finally sees what we see?
Another dismal season next year.
So you think one more season like this, then he blows it all up?
Yeah, because
he's gonna make him get out of the mess he started money wise too. Because nobody's enticed to come to cap hell as a general manager. So you're not going to get who you want.
And they would at least make the final decision with Doug because Doug's final year of his deal is next year, to where they're either going to have to extend him or let him go. To where that just financially and contractually wise, they would have to make the final call with him.
Next year's the final year of his deal?
Yep.
Yikes. See,
this is the end. This was the end of the Super Bowl contract. This was the end.
Now I think he's going. Because I don't think he coaches on a lame duck deal. Like, if you're like they're going to say, okay, if you have a good year, then like you get.
I can't hear it. We can't hear it. You're breaking up. He might not coach on a lame duck deal, but Roe doesn't have a leg to stand on after the last, his record since 2017. Maybe part of that meeting is an extension.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine this city? Could you imagine? Holy hell!
So, Tom, easy question. If that meeting, if Lurie says you're no longer in charge of the offense, we've got to hire somebody else to run it, and Doug Peterson, what does he say? If that's what Lurie tells him, does he say "fuck you" or does he say "okay"?
Okay, give me an extension.
Okay, he uses that as his leverage for an extension. Okay. Maybe it's the best of both worlds.
And what are you saying if you're Jeffrey?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's an even better question, Ryan.
Because part of me's saying, okay, see ya.
Your deal.
Here's what I'll do. Let me talk to Howie real quick.
That's exactly what he's saying. That's exactly what's happening.
I'll have a quick huddle with Howie and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I would say you give him 2 more years after next year's deal, like you restructure it and tack it on. But that's the most I would give. You know what I mean? Because that gives you a chance to rebuild the program per se.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you're going to know next year if he's back, but you know what I mean?
You give him 2 years, so you give him 1 guaranteed year and an option year or something.
You add on to he's here next year, so you don't lame duck him. So you add 1 more year onto that, and then maybe an option year for the third, just so he's not a total lame duck in it.
Yeah, I didn't know last year. I didn't know that, Ryan. I didn't know next year was the last year of his coaching deal.
Yeah, yeah. It's the final year of the Super Bowl extension that he got.
I think it's the last year of Howie's contract too, if I'm correct.
Oh,
They both got an extension that year.
I don't know if that means anything to me. I think Howie's got a lifetime contract here, one way or another.
It's not like he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like that contract is really it's like a friggin' Harbaugh Michigan contract. Like, you really don't know what it is. You hear it's for life, but then you hear they can get out of it. Like, I feel like no one knows what that contract is except for Jeffrey and Howie.
Yeah,
because even if he took away like drafting ability or something, like he can just say, okay, like I reassign you somewhere else, and he's still a part of the organization. Like, he's never going to leave the organization as long as Murray's the owner.
Yeah, they're going to fill it. They're going to Philadelphia Flyers it to where they're going to move on from a guy, but they're reassigned into some friggin' backroom office where they're making $1.5 million a year. You know what I'm saying? But no one talks about it.
A lot of loyalty in this organization. It all goes to the wrong people.
Yep.
That's how I look at it. A good shot by Danny Green there. All right, Fab. You got the Sports Hounds coming up here soon. 7:30. You can listen to the Brad and Rob if you really want to soak that in. You listen to how embarrassing last night was, and
outrage central.
The overreaction city, and love them both, but that's what it's going to be. So if you want to hear that, stay tuned. 7:30, and give Rob and Brad some shit. Stay tuned right here for the Sports Hound, and hammer away at them. Hammer away. Let them have it tonight. Let them have it, because one's a Giants fan and the other's going to be all kumbaya, and the biggest crumb. There's an extra crumb of the day. Sal Palantonio. Add him as a crumb of the day for him saying the NFL should investigate the Eagles. Just grow up. Supposed to be from Philly, you clown. All right.
This.
All right. Freaking losers. We stink. Okay? Stink. Boys, fun show. Everybody out there, we thank you guys for joining us. Go Sixers. Try to get to 6-1 tonight. It's hard to beat teams in the NBA, night to night. So let's try to figure out a way to get this one. And, I know Thursday there's no Durant with the Nets that was released, COVID protocol. So he won't be playing Thursday. So it's the week where we really can get some separation, and it starts with winning games like this. Charlotte's a tough young team, but it's a game you gotta figure out a way to win. But I know it's hard to win. It's hard to beat teams twice in 2 days. So good teams do it, and they figure out a way to do it. So let's try to keep this hot trend going, getting this Eagles stink out of her mouth. And 10-9-8. 10-9-8. Well, we want to thank our doc. Make him yours. Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com for all your team hats. All campus, OC.com. Discount code A2D, 15% off. 15% off. Use promo code A2D at all campus, OC.com. And PhillyDrinkers.com. Just go into the search bar, type in A2D Radio, and we got tons of merch in there. I don't give the whole website. Just go to PhillyDrinkers.com. Search A2D Radio. It's easier than putting freaking bars and bullshit in. Nobody's got time for that. I know the family I talk to. Let's go Sixers. Every night's a big night for me in the NBA since the Eagles are done and they stink. Flyers right around the block. We're excited about that. But Sports Hounds, 4 minutes. Only on HUDradio.com. Rob, he can tell you how embarrassed he is by the Eagles. Embarrassed. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be outrage city. Stay tuned, fam. We love you. For Tom Arnone, Ryan Brodo, Zach Burr, Jake Friel, everybody out there, like, follow, subscribe, download. We're everywhere. We out.